some localised disruption and flooding in places, so do take care. We do also need to watch out for the potential for some rain to spread its way into the far south-east of England as well. A reversal of fortunes in temperatures on Monday, actually coolest in the southwest underneath that cloud and rain, but northern England, Northern Ireland, central Scotland faring much better, 21 or 20 degrees Celsius. That rain will continue to spread its way northwards throughout Monday evening and into the overnight period. Again, there will be some heavy pulses, potentially thundery downpours around at times that we do need to watch out for. Tuesday looks like a day of sunshine and showers, with further low pressure centres though arriving as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Bye-bye for now.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh, you shocked me. I never won a penny in my life.
If I was there, I'd buy you a drink.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have saved Storm. You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere. Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome to GB News, live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua, and for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it is yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me in the next hour, broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly, and also broadcaster and author Christine Hamilton. In a few moments' time, we'll be going head-to-head in the clash with journalist Jonathan Liss and also broadcaster Emma Wolfe. Right, here's what else is coming up. After the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, I want to be a politician. In my niggle, I shall explain. Then, what would drive somebody to spend £1 million on cosmetic surgeries to change their gender? I'll ask my outside guest. Any clues who that might be? Then, of course, tonight, can the Three Lions end the 58 years of hurt? Our reporter Jack Carson is in Berlin, taking in the atmosphere.
Well, as you can see, we are surrounded by thousands of England fans. There's only one more thing for England to do, and that is make history. Is it coming home?
Well, one thing's for sure, they are, but will they win? But before we get started, let's get your latest news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Nana, thank you. Good afternoon from the GB Newsroom. It's just gone 3 o'clock. Your top story this hour. Donald Trump has thanked people for their thoughts and prayers after he was shot during an assassination attempt. Video footage shows the moment gunfire rang out, sparking panic in the crowd as Secret Service agents swarmed the former president.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
The FBI has confirmed the alleged gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot at the scene. It's understood he was on the roof of a building nearby. We now know he was a registered Republican, though his motive for the attack remains unknown. One spectator was also killed, and 2 others are in a critical condition. President Joe Biden has responded to the assassination attempt. Speaking last night in Delaware, Biden condemned the attack against his political opponent.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. But the bottom line is the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it.
Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is among world leaders condemning last night's attack, saying it was appalling. In the US, Vice President Kamala Harris says she's relieved Trump is not seriously injured, while billionaire Elon Musk says he'll continue to fully endorse the former president and hopes for his rapid recovery. And Reform UK leader Nigel Farage says Trump's assassination attempt is another example of liberal intolerance.
New left liberal elite have this sort of form of intellectual superiority where they believe they're better human beings than those on the centre right. And that is what's run through media, education, and that is at the heart of this problem, liberal intolerance. And I did say to him, if I hadn't been elected to Parliament, I'd be with him this weekend. So I would have been at that rally if I decided not to stand for Parliament. But I've now decided, Tom, in the light of what's happened, that I will fly out to America this week. I will go and see my friend, and I'll do it. I'll listen to his acceptance speech at the convention on Thursday, and I'll do it not just as a friend, but I'll do it because we have to stand up for democracy. We have to stand up for people to be able to campaign. If we don't, we're absolutely sunk.
In other news, David Lammy has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza during his first trip to the Middle East since becoming Foreign Secretary. It comes as the Israeli military says the Hamas Khan Yunis brigade commander has been killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. The attack also targeted the head of the group's armed wing, Mohammed Deif. However, it's unclear whether he was killed. It hit the southern city of Khan Yunis. The Hamas-run health ministry claim up to 90 people have died during the attacks. England are hoping to go one step further than their 2021 Euro final when the squad face Spain in tonight's final in Berlin. Ahead of the big game, Sir Keir Starmer has praised England's footballers, saying they've made the country proud. In a letter to Gareth Southgate and the team, the Prime Minister emphasised their graft and hard work and wished them the very best. Gareth Southgate and his players are hoping to win England's first trophy since 1966 and go down in legend.
I'm not a believer in fairy tales, but I am a believer in dreams. And we've had big dreams. We've felt the need and the importance of that. But then, you have to make those things happen.
And the Princess of Wales has arrived at men's Wimbledon final today alongside her daughter, Princess Charlotte. Princess Catherine will present either Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz with the trophy on centre court. It is her second public appearance following her cancer diagnosis. She made a brief return to the public spotlight last month at Trooping the Colour. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Before we get stuck into the debates over the next hour, let me introduce you to my clashers. Joining me today, journalist Jonathan Liss and also broadcaster Emma Wolfe. Right, here is what's coming up in this hour. Should the whole of the UK get behind England ahead of the Euros finals? Of course they should. They face Spain in Berlin, and if the Three Lions come out on top, do you think we deserve a bank holiday? Then, is democracy safe after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump? Leaders around the world have condemned the shooting as an attack on democratic values. And then, of course, the Tories, they're still fighting like cats in a sack. Are they dead in the water? As former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak continues to head up the party, could infighting delay their efforts to choose a new leader? And when do they? What's left of the party? Has Labour's VAT or raid on schools gone too far? Now, there are warnings that the government's plans to tax private schools could force specialist schools to close, like a school for the blind. Tell me what you think, as ever, on everything we're discussing. Send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/USA. Right, so let's kick things off because, of course, it's the football tonight. I will make a wardrobe change later. Well, but let's do the serious stuff first. Can the Three Lions end 58 years of hurt? Now, they face Spain in Berlin in what is their first ever major final abroad. With excitement and belief growing that we can actually win, manager Gareth Southgate isn't prepared to say it's coming home.
So, yeah, look, I'm not a believer in fairy tales. But I am a believer in dreams, and we've had big dreams. We've felt the need and the importance of that. But then, you know, you have to make those things happen. And fate, the run that we've had, the late goals, the penalties, that doesn't equate to us. You know, it being our moment, we have to make it happen tomorrow. We have to perform at the level that we need to perform.
Monotone, very monotone. Let's hope they don't play like that. Right now, let's cross over to reporters Jack Carlson in Berlin and Anna Riley in Hull. I'm going to start with you, Jack. You're out there in Berlin. How's the atmosphere building up? What's going on there?
I mean, I don't really need to speak, Nana, to be honest. I think it's just easier if we just show you. We're with Chris Scudder as well. I mean, Chris, this atmosphere is pretty fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long tournament, but here we are. I mean, this is the God Save the King, it says on that flag. Aston Villa, we just saw a Birmingham City flag as well. So everyone's coming, despite the rivalries, everybody's coming together for the nation tonight. There you go. There's Charles, and he's already gave a message to the team after. And what did he say? No more penalties, no more last-minute goals. Let's just get the job done. And you know, it's all about just getting over the line tonight. Doesn't matter what it looks like. It's not an artistic expression thing. This is about winning a football match. All the big nations in Europe, Spain, Germany, Italy, France, the Netherlands have all won big tournaments since 1966. It's time. It is time for England to deliver. It's got to happen.
Well, Chris, I mean, you know, we've seen the England fans around us. How are they feeling, Nana? We spoke to a few of them a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant, isn't it? I mean, I'm 57, and these days don't come around very often, do they? You know, and really looking forward to it. Proud to watch our boys put on a good show, hopefully.
Unfortunately, we're going to be with the Spanish side. It was the only tickets we could get, so, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? But we're going to win it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a massive test. I mean, tonight, hopefully we turn up tonight and put a real show on.
Can I put you both to a score prediction for tonight?
I'd go with 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. 2-1.
To England, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go 2-0 up. They'll pull one back, and then we'll be batting the fingers till the end, I think.
Well, that's the views from some of the fans there. There is a little bit of nervousness, but that excitement and anticipation ahead of today's game. Of course, back in '96 when Southgate played in the tournament, which was in England and Germany won on English soil, they have the chance to do it on German soil today. In his pre-match press conference, Gareth Southgate said that he doesn't believe in fairy tales, but he does believe in dreams. Well, all of us here in Berlin are dreaming.
Well, let's hope that we don't wake up in hell if they lose. No, they won't. Now let's cross over to Anne Riley, who's in a fan zone in Hull. Thank you to Jack Carson. Anna, how's it going?
Good afternoon, Nana. Yeah, it's good, it's great. It's a fantastic thing for trade, for pubs, for fan zones. It really has got people coming out and spending their money in these areas, and millions of extra pints are going to be pulled during the game, generating £50 million of extra revenue for pubs like this one. We're in Kicks Sports Bar and Grill. I'm delighted to be joined by Luke Bellingham. He is the owner here. Just tell us, Lucas, about trade and how the Euros have boosted it, because you've got fully booked, aren't you?
Yeah, we're fully booked tonight. I mean, to be honest with you, we've got over 100 people on the wait list that we couldn't accommodate, and trade for the Euros has been good. The weekdays not as good as the weekends, which you'd expect, but we're expecting a bumpy day today.
And just tell us about the atmosphere, because you said for the World Cup you had people crowd
surfing. Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is crazy, especially when we score, and we are going to score, obviously, and the noise in here is just absolutely immense. It's a really, really good atmosphere.
And how does it boost trade? Because it has been a bit quieter, hasn't it, of late?
Yeah, I think everybody in hospitality, it's not been the best of time, but, these events really do sort of pull people together and get them out. So fingers crossed for a good night.
And what is your score prediction?
So I think as long as we start off well, with 3-2 to us, obviously, but, come on, England.
Not penalties, though, because they're far too nerve-wracking.
I can't bear it. Can't bear any more penalties. Nerves won't take it anymore.
And you've got some food on, haven't you? You're doing burgers and hot dogs?
Yeah, burgers, hot dogs, everything that you'd expect, like I was saying earlier on, as long as they don't score while they're eating, we'll be all right. So there'll be a lot of sweeping up.
You don't want any burgers throwing up in the air. If people keep the hot dogs in the mouth rather than in the air. But we'll see, Nana, if it's coming home. Only a couple of hours to go now till that game starts at 8. Everybody's nervously waiting, but also excited. England getting through to the finals. Can they bring it home? Fingers crossed they can.
Fingers crossed they can. Let's hope they don't put us through the ringer like they always do. Anna Riley, lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much. And, of course, Jack Carson was there in Berlin. Wow. So it's going to be a busy one. So welcome again to my clash as political commentator Jonathan Liss, also writer and broadcaster Emma Wolfe. Right, Jonathan Liss, are you going to be watching the football tonight? Is that your thing or no way?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think we should have a bank holiday? Should we win?
Why not? The more holidays, the better. I mean, look, the thing with bank holiday is that even if you don't support the reason for it, you can enjoy the bank holiday. I always hate this idea that, the economy will suffer. I think we all need to be a bit lighter about these things. I think that we can have a day off every now and again. We actually there's a political point as well, that we actually have far fewer bank holidays in this country than other countries do. I think we should have more bank holidays, and we should spread them out throughout the year, because there's one period where you don't have one for about 5 months, I think.
Wow.
After the August one until Christmas, about 4 months.
As long as the doctors and people like that you might need don't do it, then that's fine. What do you think, Emma Wolfe?
Well, I think this is a great time. I think the country really needs this at the moment. We're so, well, the world especially, but this country was so divided. We've had such a bitter and unhappy election. And I think, and of course, Labour are going to claim this victory. If England win tonight, Labour will claim that. That will be all over Starmer, won't it? But no, I think the country really needs this boost. And just cycling through central London just now, people are already heading to the sports bars and the pubs, and everyone's wearing their England shirts and their red shirts. And I don't know, there's a real feeling that the country will come together. Mostly the fans have been really, really good. There's been a few isolated incidents, but mostly I think the country is massively behind the team. Everybody seems to be predicting 2-1, which is interesting, but let's hope that the boys can bring it home.
Well, Uri Geller was on yesterday, and he said that we have to do a chant to the screen. I will find that, and we will encourage people to do that, because apparently
like a hacker,
well, it's not a hacker, but like a little chant that we can encourage people to, put your hand on the screen and say a few words when they're playing. I mean, look, I thought it'd be 2-1. Any idea? Do you know who the players are?
Yeah.
Any idea of the scorers who you think might score the first goal?
Maybe Ollie will score again. Maybe he'll do the decider, the second goal. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Who else?
I'd like Gareth Southgate to be a bit more lively.
He's very monotone, isn't he?
He's very monotone, very, very low-key in the press conference. Of course, he's, you know, absolutely terrified and wanting every, you know, but this thing about we don't believe in fairy tales, but we do believe in dreams. You think, come on, mate, you've got 25 million, I think, people watching in this country, 50,000 of them out in Berlin. What an amazing day.
Well, could you imagine what it's like being one of the players getting ready for all of this?
Yeah, they'll be in their zone, won't they? Absolutely. And also, can I just drop in, and while we're talking about sport, how lovely to see the Princess of Wales back at Wimbledon, looking amazing in a purple dress, looking just really like, just back, you know. It's really, really lovely. I think that's another boost for the country because, you know, Catherine is an absolute trooper.
Well, I hope she's OK. I hope she's OK. Jonathan Liss. So, an exciting night tonight. Any ideas? Are you going out with friends or just watching at home?
No, I'll definitely be seeing it with some friends for sure. Look, all these things, I think it's, obviously you want England to win, but it's important to have a sense of perspective. I remember watching the last Euros final in my friend's restaurant with a group of people, and, you know, at the end of it, it was all a bit miserable, and I remember it was pouring down with rain. But then you kind of think, well, you know, there are bigger things happening out there. It's not the end of the world if we don't win.
It's not the end of the world if we don't win. But we're going to win, because football's coming home. That's what I'm going to be saying. Right, so what do you think? GBNews.com/your say. Give us your score predictions and also what you're doing tonight to get ready to watch that match. So remember, as soon as you can see in the Scottish newspaper as well, they might not be too keen to get behind the three lions, which is a shame. I'd like to see them all get behind us. I hope the Irish and everybody else do that as well. But if you just joined me, just coming up to 18 minutes after 3 o'clock, this is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. On the way, are the Tories dead in the water? But next, is democracy safe after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump?
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm joined now by Stefan Kyriasis to give us the latest on everything theatre.
So, yeah, we're going in first with Starlight Express, which is back. It's not in the West End. It's out at Wembley at the Troubadour Theatre, which is a big, almost kind of warehouse space, which suits because, as you know, have you seen the show?
Starlight Express was my first ever musical. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old. I only saw it once, but I remember it being magical.
Well, this one, it's 1984 it started, and it's still running in Bochum in Germany in a huge arena. So basically what we've got, they've slightly tweaked it, and it's a little boy or little girl, depending on the cast, going to bed, obsessed with toy trains and dreaming of trains. Everybody is dressed up. To me, it looks like a cross between Tron and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I don't really think any of them look remotely like a train, but hey, the songs are Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's pop mixed with kind of cod 1950s rock and roll, some power ballads. The lyrics are politely like something out of an old speak and spell machine or something, you know. He's a steam train, they're out of date, he's being bullied by the diesel and the electric, and he falls for this carriage, the first-class carriage, new girl Pearl, and he wants to impress her, so he enters a race, and that's pretty much it. And when the races happen, all these barriers come up around where we're sitting, the lights are flashing, the music's thumping. It's utterly ridiculous, and I felt like a kind of teenager that was huffing sherbet dib-dabs off a giant block of sugar. It's so much fun, and the really crucial thing about it all is that somehow, in the middle of all of that, I just felt myself getting into the story. And when Pearl and Rusty have their little duet, I was very moved, and there's this big starlight sequence, which is the inspiration, the magical starlight that he's seeking. It's beautiful.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon. This is GB News. If you just tuned in, welcome on board. I'm Nana Akua. It's just coming up to 21 minutes after 3 o'clock. We have a busy show, lots to talk about, and we want to get your comments. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, before the break, we were discussing lots of things, and lots of you have been getting in touch with your comments. We will check those out throughout the show. But political violence has returned to America. Donald Trump shot during an attempted assassination at a rally in Pennsylvania. Here is the moment that shots rang through the rally and Donald Trump was quickly yet defiantly pulled off the stage by the Secret Service.
If you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened.
Obviously, it appeared that he'd been shot. He clasped his ear, then he ducked, he went down, which is what I think they're told to do, and then he did a fist bump as if to say, come on, fight, 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 is what he said. Now, Trump, now released from hospital and returning home, is said to be doing well. In a statement, he said that he felt the bullet rip through his ear. Well, joining me now with the latest is our reporter, Ray Addison. Ray, what more can you tell us about all of that?
Well, we don't know the motive yet. We know that he was a local guy from Pennsylvania, 20 years old. He's called Thomas Matthew Crooks. He graduated from his high school back in 2022. Got a science award, maths and science. We know that he crawled onto the roof of a factory just outside the cordon where this rally was taking place. He had a direct line of sight towards Trump, and obviously, of course, that line of sight would have involved some audience members in front of it and behind Donald Trump as well. We know that one man was fatally shot. We know that 2 other men also have critical injuries, although details of those injuries have not yet been revealed. And Trump described hearing a whizzing sound, hearing the shots, and immediately feeling that bullet ripping through the skin of his right ear, and seeing the blood as well. We saw then that moment where he dropped to the ground, which obviously will be his training. He will have been trained many times to do that when he was president before. But then very, very rapidly standing up, pumping his fist in the air, and shouting the word fight. And that iconic picture, that image that we've seen with the American flag behind him, just creating an image, an incredible image that just summed up that moment. We've also seen from the official photography there as well, one image that purports to show the bullet, which has already just whizzed past and presumably through Donald Trump's right ear. You can just see it caught in that moment, in that frame.
Oh, my God.
As well. Now, President Biden issued a statement. Obviously, Trump was taken off to receive medical care. President Biden issued a statement. I think we can hear it now.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it.
Yeah, he says everyone must condemn it, but it wasn't a little while ago he was talking about a bullseye, which some of the press are now complaining that perhaps his words may have, in a sense, incited somebody. Obviously, we're not blaming him, but many of them are.
Well, just a week ago, on Monday, he gave a speech to donors. Obviously, he's very keen on raising as much money as he possibly can at the moment for his presidential campaign. As President Biden was speaking to donors, he said it's time to put Trump in a bullseye. Now, of course, he's speaking metaphorically, not literally. However, you know, if you do have people out there who are susceptible to hearing what they want to hear or believe that they're being told, just like Donald Trump supporters have been accused of being told to act violently by him. There's been accusations of that.
Yeah, I don't believe he has said anything specifically like this. You know, the insurrection, he made comments, but he told people to peacefully protest. Those are his words. He didn't say, you know.
But I think the point is that anything somebody says can be open to interpretation, and using the term bullseye is very regrettable. The US House Speaker Mike Johnson said that heated political rhetoric needs to be dialed down, I guess from both sides. But what we have seen, certainly over the last year, very, very strongly, is this rhetoric that has been used by the Democrats against Donald Trump, likening of him to Hitler, suggesting that if he returns to the White House, he will kill democracy, and that, you know, they must, you know, stop him kind of at any costs almost.
Terrible, terrible. And ironically, it feels like this is the kind of behaviour that does kill democracy. Jonathan, unless you're looking a little bit confused and giving me the eyes there.
I'm saying not looking confused. I'm just troubled by some of... No, I'm not perplexed either. I'm just a bit troubled by the implication of what we are talking about right now. Donald Trump is exactly the same person today as he was yesterday, and I should start by, of course, condemning in most unequivocal terms what happened, and no politician should ever be subject to violence at all. So that's an absolute, and we should all agree with that, no matter which political side we're on and our opponents are on. That doesn't mean that we can't condemn him in the most vociferous way for his politics. That is the essence of democracy. What I'm really troubled by at the moment is this idea that calling him dangerous is somehow an incitement to violence. It's outrageous. The implication of this is that somehow it's going to be off limits to criticise Trump for the things that he's actually said and done.
OK, so in what way is he dangerous? I mean, because ideally, if you're going to be criticising someone, you could highlight the policies and say that these aren't great policies and give reasoning rather than giving it a label and calling it a name like dangerous. Well, people will see things differently.
He's been charged with multiple offences and he's been found guilty of some of them. Obviously, those weren't dangerous offences that he's been found guilty of. But this is a man who has shown complete contempt for democracy. He tried to overthrow an election, who spearheaded an attack on the Capitol and certainly incited an attack on the Capitol. He's been accused of inciting a revolt against the United States government.
You can't just run all that and then nobody stops you. No, he would say that the election was stolen from him. And judging by the behaviour, the way the legal system appears to be weaponised against him, some people may think that he may have some truth in that.
Absolutely no evidence that the election was stolen from him.
But you may not have.
It doesn't matter, actually, because it's entirely legitimate for opponents of Trump, like me and millions of others, to say that Trump is dangerous based on our understanding and the evidence that we have about what he has said and done. It's entirely legitimate for you to disagree.
What it is and you
I told you, it's entirely legitimate for you to disagree with that. It doesn't mean that it's not legitimate for me to say it.
I didn't say
that. But what I'm fine. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that he can still be dangerous. The remedy for that, as far as I'm concerned, is to defeat him at the ballot box, not to use violence.
The words dangerous imply that there is something physically violent about him. When something is dangerous, you're going to get hurt physically.
Conservatives say that Kistar was dangerous.
I'm not saying that wording is wrong. What I am saying is that is the exact sort of language that could lead to people doing things like this. Emma Wolf.
Well, I just wanted to say, in terms of, thinking about danger, how brave those Secret Service men are to run, women as well, women there, to run towards that in the moment when you do not actually know what's happening, what is going down, and whether there are 20 people out there with machine guns. I thought that was absolutely amazing. But it's astonishing to me how polarised the world of politics is right now, that even an assassination attempt, which is what last night was, is being weaponised, and it is being weaponised by the left. People are already saying it was staged, it was this, it was that. It's absolutely ludicrous.
That's not the left, Emma, is it? That's a few cranks on Twitter. Come on.
That's not a few cranks. People are saying that he has almost caused this because of his incitement to violence, which is absolutely outrageous. Everybody has a right to be able to stand up at a public rally and make speeches and talk to their supporters in their thousands without being fired at and shot
I think
at.
you're mischaracterising the mainstream left. Certainly in America, all of the people, you know...
There is already a sense, Jonathan, that this is somehow Donald Trump's fault, that he brought this upon himself.
I would certainly not say that. I wouldn't say that it was his fault.
You could say he...
wording saying that it's dangerous and stuff
I'm
like
saying
that.
that he is a dangerous politician. I'm not saying it's his fault.
But a dangerous politician is very different.
Apply. Sorry, but using the word dangerous, I think, and associating it with a politician who's just been assassinated, almost feels like there's almost an acceptance and
at all.
It does feel a little bit like that.
His politics. Well, I mean, I think it's normally the left that gets branded with the snowflake label. I think that the argument that you're advancing is quite snowflakey at the moment.
No, it's not
I'm saying that his politics is dangerous.
I don't think the left are snowflakes at all. I think, on the contrary, I think they're the very opposite of that. And I think
hate-filled,
what Nigel Farage
aggressive
said.
left at the moment, extremely. You know, the nastiest stuff at the moment is actually coming from the left.
Well, I mean, look, certainly I'm not here to represent anyone apart from myself. I'm saying that I completely condemn the attack on him. It shouldn't have happened, and I'm glad that he escaped relatively unscathed, it seems. It's never justifiable to attack your political opponents, and this guy was actually, yes, physically, of course. This guy was actually a registered Republican, as far as we know.
But a lot of them do that to get into the race.
Well, I mean, that's in America.
He did actually donate some money to a very left-leaning cause a little bit before that as well. So yes, but that's what you would do, wouldn't you?
Look, the point is that it's not something that we like talking about generally, but there are millions and millions of people in the world. It is not possible to go inside the minds of any of them, actually. We don't.
Maybe the broader issue is why people are walking around with guns in America.
Emma, we can't even get inside the minds of some of the people closest to us sometimes, so we don't know what happens. We don't know what motivates people. Political violence happens in very peaceful societies, in peaceful times. The former Japanese Prime Minister in a country that's almost unheard of to have political violence was assassinated recently. So we can't just sort of blame other people for what he did. That doesn't mean that we can't sort of separate it from a political context, but I think we have to be really careful that people do very, very bad things, and it's not always because of what their opponents have done.
We need to be careful that sometimes when people use language and say, oh, no, well, it's not that it was his fault, but he did say this, that and the other, because there's a level of attributes of blame towards what has happened to that person. I think that is, and a lot of people don't even see that they're doing that. So I'm just pointing out that if you are, if you are talking in that way and saying, oh, well, he's dangerous and this and that and the other, it does feel like you're attributing a little bit of blame towards him. But in the other breath saying, oh, well, no.
I think it's absolutely legitimate. We have to separate this out. It's vital to separate out.
Absolutely.
Attacking people for their politics and attacking people
We can
physically.
carry on with this in just a moment, but we've got to go to the news, so I've got to stop you there. But you're with me, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up, are the Tories dead in the water? The infighting is just endless. But first, let's get your latest news headlines.
Nana, thanks very much, and good afternoon to you. It's just coming up to 34 minutes past 3, and of course the top story this afternoon is that Donald Trump has now thanked people for their thoughts and prayers after he was shot during an assassination attempt last night. Video footage shows the moment that gunfire rang out, sparking panic in the crowd as Secret Service agents swarmed the former president. Take a listen.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Dramatic scenes there from Pennsylvania last night. Just as Donald Trump was speaking, he was shot at. The FBI has now confirmed the alleged gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot at the scene. He has now died. It's understood he was on the roof of a building nearby. One spectator was also killed. 2 others are now in a critical condition. In the White House, President Joe Biden has responded to the assassination attempt, and speaking last night in Delaware, he condemned the attack against his political opponent.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it.
In sport, the Princess of Wales has arrived at the men's Wimbledon final alongside her daughter, Princess Charlotte. Princess Catherine will present either Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz with the trophy on centre court later. It's her second public appearance following her cancer diagnosis. And she earlier made a brief return to the public spotlight. You may remember last month at Trooping the Colour, Carlos Alcaraz currently leading that match on centre court. And England are hoping to go one further than their 2021 Euro final when the squad face Spain in tonight's final in Berlin. Ahead of the big game, Sir Keir Starmer has praised England's footballers, saying they've made the country proud. In that letter to Gareth Southgate and the team, the Prime Minister emphasised their graft and hard work, wishing them the very best. And if successful, a win tonight would be England's first trophy since 1966. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, I'm Sam Francis, back for another update at 4 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam. Coming up, has Labour's VAT raid on schools gone too far? But next, are the Tories dead in the water? This is GB News.
Hello there, this is your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. Summer so far has been dominated by areas of low pressure, and we've got more of them on the way over the next few days. This one out in the Atlantic is gearing itself up to arrive for the start of the new working week, and we've still got one out in the North Sea that has been providing drizzly outbreaks of rain for parts of northern England, and they'll be continuing on and off a little as we head throughout this evening and overnight as well, perhaps pepping up for a time around the Forth area, Edinburgh as well. Generally, Wales, central southern areas of England, a touch drier tonight. Some mist and fog patches around underneath those clear spells, and rural temperatures maybe into single figures, but most of our towns and cities will be holding up in double digits as we kick off Monday morning. But the start of the new working week will be quite misty and murky for the far northeast of Scotland, where we will see quite a bit of cloud drifting its way in on that northerly breeze with some drizzle in there for a time. Generally, western areas, the Highlands over towards Argyll and Bute, seeing some hazy sunshine to kick off Monday morning here. Also some sunny spells for Northern Ireland and also into northern England as well, where it is going to feel much better on Monday compared to the cool conditions we've had throughout the weekend underneath all that cloud. But here is that rain, the area of low pressure arriving in the far southwest for the start of Monday. It will be turning heavy with some thundery downpours threading into southwest England and Wales throughout the day, and as a result there is a yellow rain warning in force because we could see some localised disruption and flooding in places, so do take care. We do also need to watch out for the potential for some rain to spread its way into the far southeast of England as well. A reversal of fortunes in temperatures on Monday, actually coolest in the southwest underneath that cloud and rain, but northern England, Northern Ireland, central Scotland faring much better, 21 or 20 degrees Celsius. That rain will continue to spread its way northwards throughout Monday evening and into the overnight period. Again, there will be some heavy pulses, potentially thundery downpours around at times that we do need to watch out for. Tuesday looks like a day of sunshine and showers, with further low pressure centres though arriving as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Bye-bye for now.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes. Thank you for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Yeah, so coming up in the Great British Debate this hour, I'll be asking whether your view of Donald Trump has changed after what happened to him. But welcome back. If you've just tuned in, it's coming up to 39 minutes after 3 o'clock. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. And we are in the midst of the clash as the fallout from the election continues. Attention is turning to who will be the next leader of the Conservative Party. Does anyone care? Rishi Sunak continues to head up the party, but the infighting as to who will take over seems to be endless. So, are the Tories dead in the water? Well, joining me, my Clashes journalist, Jonathan Liss, was the broadcaster Emma Wolf. Emma Wolf.
I think the Tories actually have an opportunity right now. They have 5 years of enforced, opposition, right? They should use this time to rebuild, to come together, to sort out all these problems. This endless, slow-motion kind of nervous breakdown they've been having for months now, this endless infighting, the navel-gazing, the post-mortems, and I respect Suella Braverman and many of the things she said the other day. She did a very interesting interview with GBNews. That was, a lot of what she said is true. But this endless kind of rehashing the post-mortem, what went wrong, who did what to when. The latest is Liz Truss in today's Sunday Telegraph saying, Rishi Sunak cost me my seat. Liz Truss is the first former Prime Minister to lose her seat since the 1930s, right? It's not since the 1930s. She says that Rishi Sunak cost her seat by blaming her for trashing the economy and causing global mortgage rates to crash. She says Rishi Sunak cost 251 of those MPs, those Tory MPs that lost their seat. He cost them their seats. This needs to stop. There is still an appetite in the country for a real Conservative Party. This is the time. This is the time for them to quietly go into another room, stop leaking, stop having these public fights, stop leaking everything, and sort themselves out and come back stronger in 5 years.
Do you think they can do that, Jonathan?
Look, I think that anything is possible. What we've seen in the last 5-10 years of politics is that things can change very rapidly. No one in 2019 would have predicted a Labour landslide in 2024. So what do we know about what's going to happen in 2029? Anyone who says that they know confidently is lying to other people or to themselves. Having said that, we do know some things for certain. Namely, that both parties will need to assemble coalitions of voters at the next election. Labour has done that very effectively at this last election, but they've also overlooked one quite key element of a traditional Labour coalition, which is their core base. Progressives, Liberals, urban people, many of whom voted for independent candidates, Jeremy Corbyn and Islington, for example, the Green Party, Lib Dems, a lot of Muslim voters abandoned them for obvious reasons. And so Labour might have to depend on those voters. So Labour is going to have to talk about this as well. But obviously the most important discussion is going to be for the Conservatives because they are languishing at their lowest ever position. So the Conservatives have really, really difficult terrain ahead because either they conclude that reform is the way forward and they kind of misguidedly assume that you can treat votes as Lego bricks and just sort of stack the reform votes on top of the Tory pile and magically win all those seats back, which is complete nonsense. People voted reform because they wanted to vote for reform, and there's no evidence they won't vote reform again, and a lot of Conservatives stayed home. The Conservatives lost. Those reform voters were not just Tories by default. They voted reform for a reason. But if they do go towards those reform voters, they're going to entrench the Lib Dem Labour gains, because those voters, the more liberal-minded voters, the sort of blue wall, they're not going to come back to a very right-wing Conservative Party. They want a centrist Conservative Party.
Well, ultimately, though, and of course the centre ground is probably the way forward for most parties, centre-right, I think.
But centre-right, there is still that demand.
Let's just remind ourselves that he only got 20% of the vote there, didn't he?
Exactly.
So there are many voters who just simply didn't vote.
Exactly, and I would actually slightly push back on what you're saying, that reform voters, there are actually many, many homeless Conservative voters who just felt they couldn't vote for this Conservative Party, but there is still a real appetite for a centre-right alternative to Labour.
Yeah, but the point is, but you say that, but can they be trusted, though? Because even though Rishi Sunak is the leader, now they're going to get a new leader.
Yeah.
Can they be trusted that the leader that they get, then they don't like it, then they're going to change the leader again? And then can they be trusted to listen to their members, which they didn't listen to before, or shift things around constantly? People got sick and tired of it.
Of course they got sick and tired of it, and that's why I'm saying the infighting, the embarrassment has to stop. This constantly looking at themselves rather than looking at what voters are actually asking them for. asking for a genuine, small c, conservative alternative to Labour. And there is that demand. But as Jonathan says, it's a long time. 5 years is a long... A few months is a long time. It'll be a completely different political landscape by 2029. Look, we don't even know what's going to happen in November in America.
We shall see, because it was like getting seasick on the Titanic.
And a lot can change in reform as well, and that'll then re-scatter the
Just like
cards.
happened in 2001, Labour could repeat a landslide. I mean, we don't know how the Labour government's going to do.
Well, we'll see. But at the moment...
We're shuddering to that.
They seem to be decimating their voting base by some of the things they're coming out with already. So I think they need to watch themselves on that.
I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I'd say the VAT on private schools is causing an issue. There's a school for the blind that might be closing down as a result, and other schools like that. That is kind of their kind of base. They don't want to upset teachers as well.
They're still being unclear about trans issues and about young people.
Yeah, so that's women and that's young... I mean, they need...
Massive problems about solar farms. Solar farms decimating our agricultural land, and what's zero...
Arguments about NIMBYism and planning, which we all agree there needs to be more...
Well, the whole issue of net zero.
Green energy and in sort of building more housing.
That's true, but they have shown themselves to be NIMBYs whilst calling for everybody else.
I'm not sure that's true. That was an allegation that's had across now.
No, there's many of them in the Cabinet who have... It's not allegations, these are things that have happened. But to Cabinet... Sorry, to people who are in the Labour Cabinet who have said things, and then they're obviously double backing on it now. So, but coming up... After the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, who would want to be a politician? I'll tell you what I think in my niggle. But next, has Labour's VAT raid on schools gone too far?
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we've got quite an extraordinary story to talk to you about now, because a triple amputee war hero is launching a bid to become the first to sail across the Pacific Ocean non-stop, solo and unsupported.
Craig Wood was blown up as a teenager by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but now he's hoping to change the perception of disabled people and raise money for other limbless veterans like himself. And Craig joins us now. Morning.
So, Craig, you are extraordinary. You are planning to take up to 80 days to sail from La Paz in Mexico to Japan.
Yeah.
How many miles is that?
It'll be over 6,000.
Amazing.
Amazing. And it will take you how long?
The minimum it's going to take me is 60 days. It could be up to 80. Yeah.
And that's on your own. You've done plenty of this before, haven't you? You've done lots of solo sailing.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of solo sailing, but not as big as this. It is the world's biggest ocean, after all.
And why that particular route?
I wanted it to be a challenge, not just for me, but for anyone.
Right.
So any able-bodied person can look at this and go, wow, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And so that was the main drive. Then it's become a bigger thing than that now. Now I'm raising money for charity, and I can truly inspire people to change their perception on what is possible for disabled people.
And if you don't mind, can we ask you what happened in 2009 in Afghanistan? What were the circumstances of your injury?
I was on a normal routine foot patrol. About 5 metres in front of me, a commando IED was triggered. And subsequently, I became a triple amputee. Both legs above the knee, left hand at the wrist, facial injuries, etc., etc.
The People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Well, lots of you have been getting in touch with your views. There we go. I've got Russ about you. Jonathan said, Jonathan, Liz condemning political violence and then being divisive by calling Trump dangerous. Is there no end to the left's self-indulgence? Jonathan!
This is absolutely nonsense. And I think this is actually dangerous, if I may say, because what we are...
You're using dangerous against Trump.
I'm saying with that comment, the implications of that comment are dangerous because it suggests that we can't attack the politics of our opponents without inciting violence. It's not inciting violence.
You can, but I think he's pointing out the use of the word dangerous. So that is a divisive term. I mean, you know, like you can call out something about being divisive, but then if you then go and use terms that are divisive yourself, then that doesn't work out.
People in this studio spent 6 weeks saying that Keir Starmer was dangerous.
No, Jonathan, can I just come in? No, can I just come in? Because I have said Starmer is a danger to... some of these policies are a danger to women. I have said some of these Labour policies are dangerous to children.
Yeah.
But I think it's different. And I'm just saying, from my perspective, I think dangerous elevates him to a level, it takes it to a level, whereas when we're talking about specific policies, we can say this is dangerous for women, you know, no safe spaces or whatever. Yeah. So I think maybe it's about being specific about policies that you are talking... No, you're making Trump sound like a dangerous man.
We're going to discuss the ballot box, not at the barrel of the gun.
That's true.
Absolutely.
We would all agree with that, but I just think the word dangerous is divisive. Lizzie Sinclair says, I think Labour and the Tories are both the same awful. Neither has the British people at heart, only their selfish needs and agenda. It's like the feudal system has returned nothing left for the peasants. We need change badly. And somebody else saying that I voted for reform because I wanted to vote for reform, not because I was going to vote for the Tories. Right, so let's carry on with this. Has Labour's VAT rate on schools gone too far? Now, the Royal Society for Blind Children is reportedly warning that the Chancellor Rachel Reeves' plan to tax private schools could force specialist schools to close, like this one. So, joining me now, Jonathan Liss and Emma Wolfe. Jonathan Liss.
Well, I think that's a very worrying story. Obviously, Labour is not bringing in this policy immediately. There is going to be a grace period of 1 year. And I very much expect in that period that Labour will consult widely, including with these specialist schools. And I'd be amazed if there wasn't an exemption carved out, because the last thing Labour would want is to harm the future of some of the most vulnerable children in the country. So I'd be absolutely amazed if there wasn't sort of a detailed policy proposal that came from that.
What, to exempt certain schools?
To exempt certain schools, or to kind of give extra funding for students who might be affected by this, or whatever it might be.
But they're trying to raise money, so that's in total contradiction with the aim of the policy.
The majority of children in private schools are not in these specialist schools.
Hold on.
So, obviously, there are some, but it's not the majority.
To talk about extra funding in that casual way, when special educational needs, and I know about this stuff, is they are crying out for extra provision for financial thing. Let's just be clear, the majority of private school parents, or a lot of private school parents, are not loaded. Yeah, they're making sacrifices in order, like my parents did, like your parents did, to send their kids to private school. That's a choice they've made instead of foreign holidays, new cars, satellite TV, whatever it is. So a lot of parents. But can we just be really clear about children? There are many children with sensory disabilities, with impairment, blind, deaf, hearing, other speech and language delay, who are provided for within independent schools. It's going to be really hard to pick those out and say, oh, they don't have to pay VAT. Children are going to suffer. This is a really unpleasant politics of envy kind of policy from Labour. It's targeting, it's affecting children. There are children, I know we've discussed this before, there are children who, and I know some, who are going to be pulled out of private schools because their parents cannot make that extra stretch.
Also the provision. I'm wondering if they've got any provisions for these children.
Look, Labour has won this election in a landslide. This clearly, in as much as any government has a mandate for something, they have a mandate for this policy, which is one of their flagship policies.
So children suffer.
Just let me finish. So clearly this policy is going to take place. The thing now is to make it as equitable for everyone. And if there are these issues where these vulnerable disabled children risk losing out, then I very much expect and hope the government will resolve that.
All right, well, listen, Jonathan Liss and Emma Wolfe, thank you very much. You will be back, though, in about 20 minutes or so as we continue with our debates. Do not go anywhere. This is GB News. Coming up, and Nana Akua still to come. The Great British Debate, I'm asking, has this assassination attempt changed your opinion on Trump? Plus, Nana's niggle. Who on earth would want to be a politician? That's the question I'm asking. gbnews.com/yoursay for your thoughts. But first, let's get an update with your weather.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, this is your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. Summer so far has been dominated by areas of low pressure, and we've got more of them on the way over the next few days. This one out in the Atlantic is gearing itself up to arrive for the start of the new working week, and we've still got one out in the North Sea that has been providing drizzly outbreaks of rain for parts of northern England, and they'll be continuing on and off a little as we head throughout this evening and overnight as well, perhaps pepping up for a time around the Firth area, Edinburgh as well. Generally Wales, central southern areas of England a touch drier tonight, some mist and fog patches around underneath those clear spells, and rural temperatures maybe into single figures, but most of our towns and cities will be holding up in double digits as we kick off Monday morning. But the start of the new working week will be quite misty and murky for the far northeast of Scotland, where we will see quite a bit of cloud drifting its way in on that northerly breeze with some drizzle in there for a time. Generally western areas, the Highlands over towards Argyll and Bute, seeing some hazy sunshine to kick off Monday morning here. Also some sunny spells for Northern Ireland and also into northern England as well, where it is going to feel much better on Monday compared to the cool conditions we've had throughout the weekend underneath all that cloud. But here is that rain, the area of low pressure arriving in the far southwest for the start of Monday. It will be turning heavy with some thundery downpours threading into southwest England and Wales throughout the day, and as a result there is a yellow rain warning in force because we could see some localised disruption and flooding in places, so do take care. We do also need to watch out for the potential for some rain to spread its way into the far southeast of England as well. A reversal of fortunes in temperatures on Monday, actually coolest in the southwest underneath that cloud and rain, but northern England, Northern Ireland, central Scotland faring much better, 21 or 20 degrees Celsius. That rain will continue to spread its way northwards throughout Monday evening and into the overnight period. Again, there will be some heavy pulses, potentially thundery downpours around at times that we do need to watch out for. Tuesday looks like a day of sunshine and showers, with further low pressure centres though arriving as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Bye-bye for now.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect And then you throw me into the mix, and trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next 2 hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it is yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me today is broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly, and also broadcaster and author Christine Hamilton. So coming up, we'll be discussing whether anyone would want to be a politician when there are so many become targets. That is in my niggle. Why would anyone subject themselves to hundreds of cosmetic surgeries as well? I've got a special outside guest. She will be talking about a special comic book that she has created. And then I'd love to hear your thoughts. gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get your latest news headlines.
Nana, thanks very much and good afternoon to you. It's exactly 4 o'clock and the top story today is, of course, from the US. Donald Trump now thanking people for their thoughts and prayers after he was shot during an assassination attempt last night. Video footage shows the moment that gunfire rang out, sparking panic in the crowd as Secret Service agents swarmed the former president. Take a listen.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Well, dramatic footage there showing Donald Trump as he defiantly punched the air last night following that attempted assassination. The FBI now confirming the alleged gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot at the scene. It's understood that he was on the roof of the building nearby. We now know he was a registered Republican who has also donated to a Democrat supporting organisation, though his motive for the attack remains unclear at this stage. One spectator was also killed. 2 others are in a critical condition. And President Joe Biden has responded to the assassination attempt. Speaking last night in Delaware, he condemned the attack against his political opponent.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. But the bottom line is the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it.
Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is among many world leaders condemning last night's attack. He says he's appalled by the news. In the US, Vice President Kamala Harris says she's relieved that Trump is not seriously injured, while billionaire Elon Musk says he'll continue to fully endorse the former president and hopes for his rapid recovery. And here, the Reform leader, Nigel Farage, says Trump's assassination attempt is another example of what he's called liberal intolerance.
New left liberal elite have this sort of form of intellectual superiority where they believe they're better human beings than those on the centre right. And that is what's run through media, education, and that is at the heart of this problem, liberal intolerance. And I did say to him, if I hadn't been elected to Parliament, I'd be with him this weekend. So I would have been at that rally if I decided not to stand for Parliament. But I've now decided, Tom, in the light of what's happened, that I will fly out to America this week. I will go and see my friend, and I'll do it. I'll listen to his acceptance speech at the convention on Thursday, and I'll do it not just as a friend, but I'll do it because we have to stand up for democracy. We have to stand up for people to be able to campaign. If we don't, we're absolutely sunk.
Nigel Farage there speaking to us earlier today. Well, in other news, the Foreign Secretary David Lammy is calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza on his first trip to the Middle East since being in the role. His call for a pause in fighting comes as Israel's reporting the Hamas commander in Khan Yunis has been killed in an airstrike. The The attack hit the southern city, with Gazan officials claiming up to 90 civilians died during the strike. It's unclear, though, at this stage whether the Hamas chief and any other senior leaders were killed in the attacks. And in sport, England are hoping to go one further in their 2021 Euro final when the squad face Spain in tonight's final in Berlin. These are the live pictures coming to us from the streets of Berlin as an estimated 11,000 Spanish fans dressed in red and yellow with flags draped across them take to the streets, marching en masse to the stadium ahead of the big game. Sir Keir Starmer has praised England's footballers, saying they've made the country proud. And in that letter to Gareth Southgate and the team, the Prime Minister's emphasised their graft and hard work, wishing them the very best. Gareth Southgate and his players are hoping to win England's first trophy since 1966 and go down as legends.
I'm not a believer in fairy tales, but I am a believer in dreams. And we've had big dreams. We've felt the need and the importance of that. But then, you have to make those things happen.
And finally, an update on the centre court match taking place at Wimbledon, the men's final. It's a rematch of last year. It's now into its third set as defending champion Carlos Alcaraz is taking on seven-time Wimbledon champion Novak Djokovic. The 21-year-old Spaniard stunned centre court earlier into silence as he clinched the first two sets. Djokovic, though, is pushing back. It's now 3-3 in the third set, hoping to turn the tables on last summer's dramatic five-set loss. The centre court showdown is Novak's 37th Grand Slam final, and if he can reclaim the Wimbledon crown, he'll be awarded the trophy by the Princess of Wales, who is watching on centre court. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sam Francis. More for you in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon, welcome. It's just coming up to 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. This is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. Welcome. Who'd be a politician? Now, there have been a litany of events that would put even the most hard-hearted of people off the job. In the UK, we've had the murder of Jo Cox. She served as a Member of Parliament for Batley and Spen from May 2015 until she was murdered in June 2016. She was a member of the Labour Party. And more recently, the murder of Sir David Amess in 2021. He was the Conservative MP for Southend West. Now, I remember that day well, as I'd just come off a show on Channel 5 whilst working at GB News and was called vile by Gary Lineker, who tweeted it out to his 8.2 million followers. Now, I received a tirade of abuse simply for supporting Priti Patel's migration plan. Death threats galore. Imagine if I'd been an actual politician. David was fatally stabbed at a constituency surgery at Belfair's Methodist Church Hall in Leigh-on-Sea in Essex. And nowhere is safe. I mean, we've had politicians hounded outside their own doorsteps. Only a few months ago, a group of pro-Palestinian protesters thought that it was OK to protest outside Tobias Ellwood's home. Totally unacceptable. The large group descended on his home with megaphones chanting ceasefire and free Palestine. Rishi Sunak had his house covered with black fabric by Greenpeace activists who appeared neither green nor peaceful. And Sir Keir Starmer's leader of the Labour Party and our now Prime Minister had to deal with being harassed by Just Stop Oil outside his home in a pretend Christmas Carol concert. The campaign trail is totally unsafe, as Nigel Farage discovered, leader of Reform UK, after an attention-seeking OnlyFans model thought that it was a good idea to chuck milkshake at him in the lead-up to the last election. Joe Brand, a so-called comedian on our public service broadcast of the BBC in 2009, even thought it was funny to joke about throwing battery acid over him. Disgraceful. The BBC ruled it went beyond what was appropriate for a Radio 4 comedy show. And if it's not direct physical attack, it's online and mental abuse. Boris Johnson was vilified repeatedly by the public and indeed many elements of the media for Partygate. It was never ending. Pretty much every politician that I know has had death threats. So this latest assassination attempt on Donald Trump comes as no great surprise, and unfortunately comes after US President Joe Biden said it was time to put Trump in the bullseye. In his statement on Truth Social, Donald Trump said, "In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allow evil to win." And of course, in response to the incident, Joe Biden said that there was no room for political violence.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it.
Well, Donald Trump has come out fighting, and thank God he lived to tell the tale. It's moments like this that you realise the passion of politicians risking their lives to change the narratives. Now, I'm not saying that we should all feel sorry for them, but what I am saying is that regardless of your politics, you should be able to debate with civility. And if you weren't a fan of Donald Trump before this, you can't deny his love for his country. He's a true patriot. Biden or Trump, I know who I'd want in my corner. So before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else is coming up today. For the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, has this assassination attempt changed your opinion of Donald Trump? Now, regardless of where you stand on him, the footage of a defiant Donald Trump fist-pumping to the crowd after being shot is a powerful image. So what are your thoughts? For the Great British Debate, I'm asking, has this assassination attempt changed your opinion of him? Then at 4:50, it's Worldview time. We'll cross over live to Los Angeles to speak to Paul Dudridge, host of the Politics People podcast, to get the latest and more updates from the US. Stay tuned at 5 o'clock by Outside Guest. Now, I'll be joined by a special celebrity. She used to be known as the Human Ken doll and now has a comic book coming out. Who do you think she is? That's coming up in the next hour. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. Right, let's welcome again to my panel broadcaster and author Christine Hamilton and also broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly. Right, let's start with Christine Hamilton.
Yes.
So what do you think? Politicians, you should know, you were in the field there. Your husband is an ex-politician.
Well, I mean, it's a very different situation now from what it was then. I mean, I first started working in politics in 1971. And things were quite different. There was none of this 24-hour news. There was no social media. The internet wasn't rampant like it is today. So I think it's certainly got a hell of a lot more dangerous. We used to think that that sort of thing only went on in the United States, and then you've listed the people, Joe Cox being the outstanding one and David Amis, but other MPs have been attacked in their surgeries. They weren't killed. There was one MP, I've desperately been trying to remember his name. He was attacked with some rather medieval instrument. Yes. I can't remember what it was. If anybody out there can remember, do let me know. So, you know, they do face threats. And during the election, you know, we had Nigel with the milkshake, which could have been far worse. To be honest, I wouldn't go into politics now. I really wouldn't. I think it's horrendous. And we're going back to sort of centuries ago when people used to solve everything with physical means, and it was fight, fight, fight. And this should have absolutely no place. And Donald Trump I haven't changed my view of him at all. I mean, he of the two, he's undoubtedly the one to be leading America. And what I was thinking of when I saw the way he came back fighting instantly was like Margaret Thatcher when the IRA tried to kill her with the Brighton bomb. The next morning, she was dressed impeccably, as always. M&S had kitted them all out. They'd all lost their clothes and everything. And she said, we go on as normal. This is the day I was not supposed to see. We go on as normal. And that is the only way to do it. Otherwise, the terrorists, the assassins, etc., win. But now I think it's very worrying. How can a politician just walk down the street any longer, a prominent politician, without needing endless security? And that cuts them off from their constituents.
Danny Kelly.
Ronald Reagan, when an assassination attempt in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan, just before he was put under the knife to remove bullets, said to the surgeon, said to the theatre team, I hope you're Republicans. A bit of comedy there. You know, he's having a laugh. And the surgeon actually said today, sir, we're all Republicans. Now, I don't think that would have taken place today. I think there's so much hostility. I think social media is a massive contributory factor to this. People are whipped up into a frenzy on both sides of things. To address your question, I think you've got to have real courage to become a politician nowadays, almost to the point that it's just not worth it. You know, I disagree with you about how much they should be paid. I think they should be paid a lot more.
Well, do you know, actually, after this, I'm actually reconsidering my position on that.
Yeah.
I'm actually reconsidering it. I think they are paid quite a bit, but actually, I would be paying them more simply for danger money.
Yeah.
That's where I'd be going with it, because I think... having seen a lot of this, I'm slightly changing my mind. Although I do think that £93,000 is quite a bit of money. And
is it 90? I thought it was 80 or 79.
It's gone up.
It's over 90.
So I actually think that,
plus all the bits.
Yeah. So therefore, with all the bits and everything else, I'm still. You know, it's a dangerous job now. It's become more dangerous. Should they be paid more? Half of me feels maybe they should, but then when I remember all the perks and everything else, I sort of go back to the
mental health, the toll it must take on a politician's mental health. Because, as I understand, I think they're all probably on social media. It's part of what you do. You have to be, yeah. Yeah, if you want to be a constituent MP, you need to be contacted, and Twitter's the thing. I was thinking maybe a compromise would to be not on Twitter, but the mental health, the toll it must take on you to just check you. I'm not on social media, but I can imagine if I was, people would be really nasty about me. And I'm not a public figure.
Well, you see, I went along with an idea that Priti Patel had. I said, yeah, it's fair enough, I agree with that. You know, you could fair enough do that.
And Lineker got involved.
And Gary Lineker decided to put his oar in. And, you know, I think the way it was clipped kind of didn't show the full...
The context.
The full context, because it was actually a Priti Patel policy. It wasn't my idea. Yeah. And I'm simply saying, yeah, I'll go along with it. Some people may say that doesn't make a difference. I don't care. But the bottom line is the amount of vitriol I got for just going along with something that somebody else had come up with.
It's too easy, isn't it, for people to hide behind the complete anonymity. Nobody knows who they are. They have some ridiculous name on their Twitter handle. Mine is perfectly obvious. I'm Brit Battleaxe. Well, that's obviously me, isn't it?
Yeah.
But a lot of people, you have no idea who it is. You don't know if it's a man, a woman, a bot, somebody who's mentally insane, and they just think it's fun to have a go at you, and they think, whoa, yes, I'll get her. And it's that then, in a few sad cases, spills over into wanting to do physical violence.
Yeah.
And look at J.K. Rowling, for example. She's had death threats and goodness knows what. Obviously nothing to do with politics, but to do with the politics. Yes, not party politics, but to do with woke politics and everything. And MPs are supposed to be freely available to their constituents. They're supposed to have, surgeries where anybody can go and see them. It's the whole point of our democracy, and it used to be one of the pillars of it. That it is one reason why we stick with first past the post, because it gives an MP a direct connection with all their constituents. But if they become terrified of the constituents, terrified of meeting them without an armed guard.
But Farage, you had milkshake and everything thrown, and Jo Brand disgraceful.
Oh, Jo Brand,
that was terrible. That was awful. Jo Brand getting away with it.
She should never appear.
She had her knuckles wrapped, but that's all.
They did wrap her knuckles. They did say that it was beyond what was acceptable.
But she's back on the beat.
It's always that side of politics that can smear and besmirch this side of politics. Farage is right, because they believe they have the moral superiority and they're better people, then they can do what the hell they want to people on the right side of politics, because they're looking after vulnerable demographics on this side, so they can besmirch, they can libel, they can slander, and in Jo Brand's case, you can encourage battery acid to be thrown.
Well, I mean, obviously she's not here to defend herself, so
that's
she
what
can't.
She said.
But she did say that, and actually I'm simply referring what the BBC themselves have said, that it went beyond what was acceptable.
So, yes, but she's back on the BBC, isn't she?
Well, I mean, to me, if I'd said something like that, I don't think I'd be working still. I don't think
you would, no.
I wouldn't have a job.
But if you said it on the BBC as a comic about, like, Corbyn, for example, like lob battery acid over Corbyn...
No, don't. But I just think it's totally unacceptable. Something like that should never be said ever.
You'd have lost your job, I think, if it was the other way round.
I just think it's absolutely terrible. I think it's one of the worst things I've ever heard, actually, that person still, continues to work in that capacity.
Just a tiny final on Trump. I mean, I think he showed great courage. Why he was allowed to, I don't know, but he showed great courage to stand up. He had no idea whether the fellow was still there pointing at him.
Nor did his service. Security service shouldn't have let him.
They shouldn't have let him, but he did.
He's Trump, and he did fist pump because it was really important to him. See, look, and like I said, Joe Biden versus Trump, Trump any day. I mean, if I wanted somebody to support me, then that's who I would be choosing.
The undecided might now go to Trump.
I think he's secured his place in the White House with knobs on.
Well, we shall see. We'll be discussing that in just a moment's time. GBNews.com/you'll say this is a GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up, Worldview. We'll cross live to Los Angeles to get the latest from the Politics People podcast host on Donald Trump being shot. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, has your opinion of Trump changed after this assassination attempt? I've got a poll up right now on X asking you that very question. Has your opinion on Trump changed?
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo. From 11, only on GB News.
Welcome back. Stefan Kyriazis has, as ever, been to the theatre and saw one of the most successful performers of the modern age, one who has made his name in different genres on television and is always a magnetic presence on the stage. About whom are we talking, Stefan?
We're talking about James Corden at the Old Vic for The Constituent, and it's Traverse staging. So audience on either side, and it's a fantastic experience. But also it's been done this time to bring everything in a lot and make it quite intimate, because you just have one simple set. It's just a table, office space. This is a new play by Joe Penhall, and it's addressing very, very current issues of safety, especially for people in public service. Doctors, nurses, teachers, and of course, as you know, politicians that are at risk and being attacked. So we have Joe Cox, Sir David Ames, and we have politicians talking about cancelling their surgeries, not wanting to appear in public, teachers being threatened. And James Corden plays an ex-serviceman who is going through a difficult divorce, dealing with a lot of PTSD, also feeling very much like fathers are overlooked, and he wants to fight for their rights. And an old school friend is a local MP, played by Anna Maxwell Martin. And he goes in to start talking to her, and it starts off quite chummy and jovial, and then it darkens and darkens. He gets quite aggressive and frustrated. She wants to help. She's an absolute idealist. This politician sense of we don't choose who we work for. You know, we are here by duty to work for everybody in our constituency. It spirals a lot. I have to say, Corden, sensational. Really? He really is a fantastic actor. Of all of them, he's so natural. And he has the most difficult role where his character is shifting all the time and becomes potentially quite threatening and dangerous. But then there's also a beautiful catharsis at the end.
The People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, where have you been? It's just coming up to 23 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. Now, lots of you have been getting in touch with your thoughts. Meg says society has no respect for authority. It's a breakdown in law and order, and it's getting worse. This is obviously on my monologue. We talked about politicians and who would be one. John says, I admired Trump before this assassination attempt. His response wasn't surprising. Yeah, interesting. So some people sort of liked him a little bit, but now love him now. I just think he's a true patriot after that. That's incredible that he was able to get up and show people that he still is passionate about his country. But it's time now for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, has the assassination attempt changed your opinion of him? Just moments after being shot in the ear in an assassination attempt, Donald Trump got up from the ground and fist pumped with blood on his face, saying, fight, fight, fight. Regardless of your view of him, it's a powerful image. So I'm asking, has this assassination attempt kind of changed the way you see him or your opinion of him? Joining me now, writer and broadcaster Emma Wolfe, political commentator Jonathan Liss, former Democrat strategist Spencer Critchley, and former advisor on Britain to the US Congress, Lee Cohen. I'm going to start with Lee Cohen immediately. Lee Cohen, wow, what an awful thing that's happened, but I'm so glad told Trump is alive.
No, absolutely not. And, you know, people have so little faith in our American institutions, mainly because Democrats have weaponized them, that they are willing to take existential narratives served up by the Biden campaign, such as, you know, democracy will end if they elect Donald Trump. And it's these kinds of rhetoric that lead to awful consequences, and they've led to an awful consequence, thank goodness. That was a near miss, though tragically there was a casualty and others injured, but it could have been much worse, and we certainly pray for those and keep them in our thoughts who have been wounded, including, of course, the president himself.
Spencer Critchley. Spencer.
It was an absolutely terrible event, and I think that one of the most important features of democracy that we must try to protect is that it's possible to be a strong opponent of a political candidate, as I am an opponent of former President Trump, and to be horrified by any attempt to use violence to resolve political differences. So when I saw that this was breaking across the newswire, so to speak, my heart sank and I felt sick at the thought, because any attack on any political figure is an attack on democracy itself.
And also it means literally nobody's safe, because it could have been him this time, it could be somebody else another time from a totally different party. Jonathan Liss.
I agree with what Spence just said. An attack on a democratic candidate is an attack on democracy. It should be condemned absolutely vociferously by all sides, and it has been condemned by Democrats. It won't change my opinion of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is a politician who presumably has the same beliefs today that he did yesterday. And I think it's absolutely vital that we separate out the legitimacy of attacking our political opponents for what they say and do in the most forceful terms, but to condemn absolutely any attempt to inflict physical violence on them. We must defeat our opponents in the ballot box, not with a shotgun.
Do you take Lee Cohen's comments, though, that the rhetoric that is used often feels like it can incite people who maybe aren't with it to do things like
No,
this?
and I think it's very premature to start accusing different people of inciting this one individual. We don't know.
No, I'm
not saying you are. I'm not saying you are.
I'm asking about the rhetoric itself.
Yes,
Lee Cohen made the point about rhetoric.
Yes, but I think that the Republicans have been far more guilty of inflammatory rhetoric over the years than Democrats. That's not to say that all sides shouldn't look at the language they may have used in the past, but to say that this is somehow the monopoly of the Democrats is ludicrous.
OK, Emma Wolf.
Yeah, I don't think this has changed anybody's...
Oh, hold on. Yes, Lee. Sorry, he's coming back on that. Yeah.
I was going to say that's rubbish, because the gentleman just before me said we need to defeat them at the ballot box. The Democrats have done everything in their power to ensure that President Trump, to try to prevent him from coming to the ballot box, you know, weaponizing the justice system to bring these trials against him that cost him time. Campaigning that would try to prevent him from ever coming to the ballot box in the first place.
Trump tried to overthrow the US government. I mean, heaven's sake. I mean, he accused the election of having been stolen. Every single case he brought was thrown out, including by judges that he appointed. So it's just there's absolutely no substance to that whatsoever.
Well, I don't know whether that's true. Emma Wolf.
Yeah, I don't think this has changed anybody's view on Trump. If you loved him before, you love him even more now. I thought his reaction, whatever you think of him, was astonishing. It was brave and it was powerful. It was a very, very powerful moment. And it's already, we've seen the photographs, that image will be on millions of T-shirts already across America. It will be on caps. It'll be on posters. It is all over the place. And I think that Trump's reaction in that split second, in that moment, for going down, as he's been trained to do, and then coming up again, I just think, you know, it tells us a lot about the man.
Well, even though your reaction could be that actually it's made you like him more, which it sounds like that's what you're saying.
I'm talking about love. I'm talking about people who love Trump, and you said I love him even more now.
Yeah.
And I think that if you dislike Trump, you dislike him, as Jonathan does, and many, many people do across America, you dislike him even more now. And I don't think that assassination attempt yesterday should be weaponised in any way.
I don't dislike him even more. My feelings are unchanged about him. I'm glad that he wasn't assassinated. That doesn't change my opinions of him politically.
It's grudging. It's grudging the way you're saying that.
I don't dislike him more than I disliked him enough.
If I might. Yes, please.
If I might. This is something I write and speak about a lot, and I think it's something I would really like to highlight at this moment. A big part of the division between supporters and opponents of Donald Trump comes down to whether you see the world of politics in terms of values like personal loyalty and trust in the person, or whether you believe in a system based on more of a constitutional order that's independent of the person. Now, I'm not at this moment deciding for anybody which one is the right way to go. I lean towards the constitutional view that's independent of the personality who happens to be occupying the position of authority. But this is one of those situations where you will never resolve that debate if each side continues to argue from a completely different set of values.
Yeah.
So I would say that everybody needs to understand that we're looking not at a debate really between the political left and right, at least in the United States. We're looking at a debate between two very different worldviews where things like truth and morality are measured by different standards. And until we understand how different the world can look to the two different groups, we'll continue to just shout past each other.
Yeah, that's a very powerful comment there. Thank you for that. Lee Cohen, what do you think?
Well, I think if we're talking about morality, and we can hardly put the Democrats in a place of valuing morality when President Biden said as late as July 7th, he was calling for Trump to be put in the bullseye. And then this happens nary a week later. I mean, we can hardly say that they have the moral high ground on morality at that point. It's a complete disregard.
I can offer something as a political professional in response to that, if I might.
Okay, give us a response, Spencer, please.
Yes, again, the two sides are defining morality differently, which is my key point. But speaking as a political professional, the rapidity and uniformity of the response with the bullseye point is an indication of how the Republican side is extremely disciplined and well organized at taking advantage of situations like this, if I may. That if you do a Google search, you'll find that point about the bullseye comment showing up across right-wing media in the United States, as was the response immediately following the assassination attempt, where you saw some Democratic politicians like J.D. Vance, for example, blaming this on President Biden's rhetoric. I would encourage people who do support President Trump to try to be aware of the extent to which this is coordinated, these kinds of points, and maintain their ability to make up their own minds, hopefully based on a skeptical view, no matter where the information is coming from, of the information
Spencer,
itself.
That is fair enough, but he did say it. And you know, whilst
he did, but this leads us to the back and forth about President Trump describing Biden as evil and sick, and we won't have a country anymore, and calling him a fascist and a communist, encouraging insurrection on January 6th, et cetera, et
Spencer,
cetera.
1 second. I'm going to give Lee Cohen the last word very briefly, and I'm going to come to you all and say whether yes or no, whether this has changed your opinion on him. Lee Cohen, you've got about 10 seconds.
President Biden promised to reunify the country, and any way you slice it, a comment like calling for Trump to be put in the bullseye is the absolute antithesis of that. It is demonization and dehumanization of the worst kind.
Okay. So Jonathan Liss, has this changed your opinion of Trump? Yes or no?
No.
Emma Wolf, yes or no?
No.
Spencer Critchley, yes or no?
No.
And Lee Cohen, yes or no?
No, but it's even encouraged me even further to see his grace under fire.
Yeah, so it's made you like him even more. All right, thank you so much to all of you. Really good to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lee, as well. He's there on holiday in France. He took out time to do this. I really appreciate that. And Spencer Critchley, and of course, Emma Wolf, and of course, Jonathan Liss. Brilliant. Thank you. What are your thoughts? gbnews.com/your say. Coming up, we'll continue with the Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, has this assassination attempt changed your opinion of Donald Trump? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, Christine Hamilton and Danny Kelly. Still to come, my outside guest. She's an absolute mystery. Who is she? Formerly known as the human Ken doll. Who are they? gbnews.com/your say. First, let's get your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Nana, thank you very much and good afternoon to you. It's just after 4:30 and the top story this afternoon. Melania Trump has now said that her life was on the brink of devastating change due to the suspected assassination attempt on her husband Donald Trump last night. The former US president says a bullet pierced his ear after a gunman fired at him from a rooftop during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. One spectator was killed and the suspect was also killed. 2 others remain critically injured. This was the moment that gunfire rang out and Secret Service agents swarmed the former president.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Well, the FBI has confirmed the alleged gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot and killed at the scene. We now know he was a registered Republican who had also donated to a Democrat-supporting organisation. But his motive for the attack so far remains unclear. One spectator, as I said, was also killed. 2 others are still in a critical condition. Also, just a quick update on 2 latest lines coming to us from the Reuters news agency. It's believed that bomb-making material has been found in a vehicle at the home of the suspect. That is at this stage unconfirmed, but that is according to law enforcement officials in the US. We also believe that the gun recovered at the Trump rally suspect's home was legally purchased by his father. Again, unconfirmed, but that coming to us from law enforcement sources. We will bring you much more on that as we get it and confirm those details for you. Well, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is among world leaders condemning last night's attack, saying he was appalled. In the US, Vice President Kamala Harris says she's relieved that Trump is not seriously injured. Billionaire Elon Musk has said he'll continue to fully endorse the former president and hopes for his rapid recovery. And here, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage says Trump's assassination attempt is another example of liberal intolerance. The Princess of Wales has arrived at the men's Wimbledon final today alongside her daughter Princess Charlotte. That match still underway. Princess Catherine will present either Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz with the trophy on centre court later. It's her second public appearance following her cancer diagnosis. And you'll remember she made a brief return to the public spotlight last month at Trooping the Colour. And finally, thousands of football fans have descended on Berlin ahead of tonight's Euro 2024 final against Spain. England are hoping to beat their opponents to secure the trophy when the game kicks off at 8 o'clock tonight. Ahead of the big game, Sir Keir Starmer has praised England's footballers, saying they've made the country proud. Gareth Southgate and his players are hoping to win their first trophy since 1966. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. Much more on the breaking story coming to us from the United States throughout the rest of this afternoon. Until then, back to Nana.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon, 37 minutes after 4 o'clock. This is GB News. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up, Worldview. We'll cross live to Los Angeles to get the latest on how Americans are reacting to Donald Trump being shot. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, has this assassination attempt changed your opinion of Donald Trump? I've got a poll up right now on X asking you that very question. Has this assassination attempt changed your opinion of Donald Trump? Send me your thoughts at gbnews.com/your say.
Hello there, this is your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. Summer so far has been dominated by areas of low pressure and we've got more of them on the way over the next few days. This one out in the Atlantic is gearing itself up to arrive for the start of the new working week, and we've still got one out in the North Sea that has been providing drizzly outbreaks of rain for parts of northern England, and they'll be continuing on and off a little as we head throughout this evening and overnight as well, perhaps pepping up for a time around the Firth area, Edinburgh as well. Generally Wales, central southern areas of England, a touch drier tonight. Some mist and fog patches around underneath those clear spells, and rural temperatures maybe into single figures, but most of our towns and cities will be holding up in double digits as we kick off Monday morning. But the start of the new working week will be quite misty and murky for the far northeast of Scotland, where we will see quite a bit of cloud drifting its way in on that northerly breeze with some drizzle in there for a time. Generally western areas, the Highlands over towards Argyll and Bute, seeing some hazy sunshine to kick off Monday morning here. Also some sunny spells for Northern Ireland and also into northern England as well, where it is going to feel much better on Monday compared to the cool conditions we've had throughout the weekend underneath all that cloud. But here is that rain, the area of low pressure arriving in the far southwest for the start of Monday. It will be turning heavy with some thundery downpours threading into southwest England and Wales throughout the day, and as a result there is a yellow rain warning in force because we could see some localised disruption and flooding in places, so do take care. We do also need to watch out for the potential for some rain to spread its way into the far southeast of England as well. A reversal of fortunes in temperatures on Monday, actually coolest in the southwest underneath that cloud and rain, but northern England, Northern Ireland, central Scotland faring much better, 21 or 20 degrees Celsius. That rain will continue to spread its way northwards throughout Monday evening and into the overnight period. Again, there will be some heavy pulses, potentially thundery downpours around at times that we do need to watch out for. Tuesday looks like a day of sunshine and showers, with further low pressure centres though arriving as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Bye-bye for now.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have said Stump.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. This is GB News. We are Britain's election. Oh, news channel, not election. It's gone now. The election is done. I'm Nana Akua. Welcome. It's time now for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, has this assassination attempt changed your opinion of Trump? It could have changed that you like him more, or like him less, or not at all. The image circulating around the world is, of course, Donald Trump fist-pumping the air after this assassination attempt against him. It's very powerful. So what do you think? Has this changed your opinion of him? Well, let's see what my panel make of that. Joining me now, Christine Hamilton and Danny Kelly. Danny Kelly, I'm going to start with you.
Well, like the majority of GB News viewers, I'm going to speculate. I'm quite warm towards Donald Trump. I don't loathe, I don't hate him. Many of his opponents, we touched on this earlier on, if you're on the left side of politics, it's easy to hate people. On the right side of politics, you don't hate your opponents as much. I think that's just a broad observation. So if I was a swing voter, undecided in America, I would warm towards Donald Trump. And I'm going to give you a domestic analogy. In 1958, the Man United team were decimated in the Munich air disaster.
Yeah.
Liverpool and Manchester's always had a lot of rivalry in the cities. My grandparents started to support Manchester United because of that tragedy.
Oh.
Yeah, because the whole team was decimated. I think 8 or 9 players were killed.
Well, one of them survived because he was facing backwards there, wasn't he?
Yeah, a number of them did survive, but there was a lot of empathy and sympathy and goodwill towards, and I think that will apply to Trump.
Do you think?
I do. I mean, he's... Of the two, I would far rather Trump was leading the Western world than Biden. To me, that doesn't need saying. When you look at the catastrophe that Biden is just about walking catastrophe.
Disaster.
I wouldn't want Biden round for dinner. Certainly wouldn't want to have him to stay for the weekend. I think it'd be a complete nightmare. But as leader of the Western world and the American president, definitely Trump. Whether it's changed people's views, it hasn't changed my view. I'm impressed by the way he carried that off. There was nothing wimpish, nothing, no screaming, no nothing, whereas there could have been. It must have been a very terrifying situation. I know he's schooled in it, what to do and down and all that. But nevertheless, jolly terrifying for him. Those images are going to be... They are going to reinforce in people's views that he is a tough, strong guy. And do we need a tough, strong guy in charge of America? Yes, we do.
Because I'm wondering about other world leaders looking on, seeing that as well. So Kim Jong-uns and, the other, the Putins,
Putin,
like
yes.
that, looking and seeing that Trump is not going down without a fight.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, personally, that made me like him even more. So in the respect that it's changed my view, I always thought Trump was great anyway. I mean, I've never pretended to anything else. And I lost a lot of friends saying that I thought he was great. They're saying, oh, he's racist and all that. I'm like, no, I don't think he is.
No, I don't
think I watched him in the...
I think it certainly enhanced his image.
I
Both with those who liked him anyway and those who were wobbling.
I think there'll be an inquest into how his security detail handled that, because their job is to take a bullet for the former president and maybe the future president. And if you noticed in the firing line, there was a 5'4" female security
There she is on the screen. Oh, no, she's gone.
Yeah, now that, all the other lads were like 6'1", 6'2". Trump's a tall guy. And in the firing line, you should have had a 6'4" body.
Well, look, so let's see what the others say.
There's a little tiny girl with a bum.
Without you and your views. Let's welcome our Great British Voices, their opportunity to be on the show and tell us what they think about the topics we're discussing. Should we go to Kidderminster? Let's have a chat with John Reid. John Reid, has that changed your view of Donald Trump? Did you like him? Do you loathe him? What's the deal?
It hasn't changed my opinion, Nana, one iota. The man is a buffoon, and if he's put in charge of America in the coming election, I, for one, will be worried. I don't agree with his politics. I don't agree with the way he delivers his theories. I don't agree in any shape or form. So I'm sorry to disagree with both you and Christine today. However, does it change my opinion? No, I wouldn't wish an attack like this on anybody, even my worst enemy. So, yeah, I'm where I always was, but I don't like the man.
Don't like the man. Thank you very much. John Reid in Kidderminster, the home of the carpets. Yep. Thank you so much. Right, well, you're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up in the next hour, my Great British Debate, I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour? But next, Worldview, we'll speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Doddridge, and get the latest from what's happening stateside.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Khloe Kardashian has come under fire after posting a picture of her 6-year-old daughter wearing a full face of makeup.
Yeah, the reality TV star said the youngster was participating in a dance recital and that wasn't an everyday occurrence.
So this morning we're asking, is it ever OK to let children wear makeup?
Well, joining us now is journalist Julie Cook. So, Julie, it's a child wearing full rouge, bright red lipstick, hair tied back, looking very, very stylised, very much, I think, like a young adult. Is this really the sort of thing we should be doing with small children?
Oh, I think it's absolutely fine. I mean, first of all, in Khloe Kardashian's case, it was a dance recital, so it was very much a kind of performance element to it. She said herself in her post, it wasn't something they do every day. She was taking part in a dance activity. So, you know, I think she's vindicated on that front. But I've let my daughter play with makeup since she was 3. When she was 3, she showed a distinct interest in my makeup palettes, going through my stuff. She's 10 now, and while I don't let her wear a full face like a drag queen, I do let her wear, you know, a bit of mascara on a weekend if she wants to. I don't see any harm in it.
Clearly, if you're a child of a Kardashian who's paid millions of dollars to endorse cosmetics, you know, that's part of the fabric of their family. My concern, though, Julie, is putting those pictures on social media where people can see them. We live in an age now where, you know, wrong-uns are scouring the internet all the time.
A lot of girls do enjoy putting makeup on. It's almost like a self-expression thing. It's like painting on a canvas. They're just trying to be a bit artistic. I don't think it's necessarily as sort of sinister as we're making out. And I think as long as you're not posting pictures everywhere or putting them at risk of harm, I don't see any danger.
The People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, good afternoon. If you've just tuned in, welcome. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. Now, of course, let's travel over to the States because I want to have a chat with the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Dudridge. Paul, thank you very much for joining me. In response to the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, what has been the narrative there?
Very much, I think, the same as you've been demonstrating on the show today. It's polarised opinion, as the opinion's always been polarised. I actually don't think people are changing sides at all. It's like you see TikTokers, for instance, bursting into tears because Donald Trump survived. And so what we've got is just an amplification, a magnification of the support or the lack of that was existent before the assassination attempt. So it's being covered with reverence. Look, I sent a tweet out. I'm nobody, but I sent a tweet out saying how long until they blame the scum blame Donald Trump for this. And within 24 hours, CNN were running items blaming Trump in effect for raising the temperature of the rhetoric that's actually resulted in this assassination attempt. And so people pretty much have gone to their corners as expected. It's just the spotlight is going to remain steadfastly on this story now for quite some time, picking it apart, dissecting it, etc. So Donald Trump is going to stay at the center of the story, but I think that those who love him more, those who despise him more.
It does seem that way, doesn't it? And the floating voters are still floating. So
yes.
What are they saying then? What's the general gist of it? And is Trump about to talk about this? Do we know whether he's going to speak soon?
Yes, I think so. Look, he's never been shy at coming forward. He immediately tweeted or truth socialed, whatever. He put a comment out pretty soon after. There was talk of him actually attending the UFC fight last night. There was bated breath waiting for him to arrive there because he was supposed to fly in to do that. Remember, it's the Republican convention this week. So he's going to be officially nominated as he's going to become the official candidate for we all think he's already the candidate, but actually it doesn't happen officially until the convention this week. So he's going to be attending that. There's already video of him coming down the steps at Trump Force One and being seen in at least, up and about and fully mobile, etc. And so, yes, he has been commenting, and I think that I can't see that this is going to go unreported by Donald Trump, but he's been magnanimous and brave and courageous, and as we would expect.
Do we know about his injuries, what he sustained, what happened to him?
No more than it's been reported. I tell you, there are two versions going around at the moment, just out of interest. Some are saying that the bullet made a direct hit and tore through the upper right-hand part of his ear. And there's other reports saying that it actually went through a teleprompter, and it's the glass from the teleprompter that shattered. So listen, that none of these nothing is confirmed. This is going to be picked over. I mean, even different names of suspects are coming up. I mean, we had this name overnight, the chap called Crooks. And now anyway, I don't even want to name the name of the other person, but there is apparently another suspect that has now who was apparently under FBI surveillance right up until the last moment. So, so many details have still yet to be confirmed. But these are the developing stories. So, is it a bullet wound? Is it a splinter, a glass fracture from an exploding teleprompter?
Well, there's a picture of a bullet that sort of appeared to be going whizzing past or towards his ear. So that could be, it sounds to me like it probably was a bullet. But what about the young lad that was killed who tried to assassinate him? We've just had news that they found bomb-making equipment at his home.
Yeah, this is a developing story, as you say, and so we're hearing this at the same time. Yes, apparently 20 years old and a Republican. This is the thing, he's a registered Republican, but donated to the Biden campaign. And now, after a search at his home, and his dad, apparently his quote is going, he's got no idea what's going on at all. But they're finding bomb-making equipment at his home. Look, immediately the internet and social media does a deep dive. And so there are so many details. I don't want to enter into the conspiracy theory stuff at all, because that's exploded overnight. This is how rapidly, I think you were touching on this earlier with social media. Social media is doing so much of the organic investigation into this, that there is a story and a narrative about the shooter, the suspect, potential other suspects, the actual cause, even the role of the Secret Service is being called in to question. And so you've got, every side has got their opinion, and it is being served by this fractured story at the moment.
OK, well, listen, Paul Dudger, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Paul Dudger is the host of the Politics People podcast. And Weather is next.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, this is your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. Summer so far has been dominated by areas of low pressure, and we've got more of them on the way over the next few days. This one out in the Atlantic is gearing itself up to arrive for the start of the new working week, and we've still got one out in the North Sea that has been providing drizzly outbreaks of rain for parts of northern England, and they'll be continuing on and off a little as we head throughout this evening and overnight as well, perhaps pepping up for a time around the Forth area, Edinburgh as well. Generally Wales, central southern areas of England a touch drier tonight, some mist and fog patches around underneath those clear spells, and rural temperatures maybe into single figures, but most of our towns and cities will be holding up in double digits as we kick off Monday morning. But the start of the new working week will be quite misty and murky for the far northeast of Scotland, where we will see quite a bit of cloud drifting its way in on that northerly breeze with some drizzle in there for a time. Generally western areas, the Highlands over towards Argyll and Bute, seeing some hazy sunshine to kick off Monday morning here. Also some sunny spells for Northern Ireland and also into northern England as well, where it is going to feel much better on Monday compared to the cool conditions we've had throughout the weekend underneath all that cloud. But here is that rain, the area of low pressure arriving in the far southwest for the start of Monday. It will be turning heavy with some thundery downpours threading into southwest England and Wales throughout the day, and as a result there is a yellow rain warning in force because we could see some localised disruption and flooding in places, so do take care. We do also need to watch out for the potential for some rain to spread its way into the far southeast of England as well. A reversal of fortunes in temperatures on Monday, actually coolest in the southwest underneath that cloud and rain, but northern England, Northern Ireland, central Scotland faring much better, 21 or 20 degrees Celsius. That rain will continue to spread its way northwards throughout Monday evening and into the overnight period. Again, there will be some heavy pulses, potentially thundery downpours around at times that we do need to watch out for. Tuesday looks like a day of sunshine and showers, with further low pressure centres though arriving as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Bye-bye for now.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh, you shocked me. I never won a penny in my life.
If I was there, I'd buy you a drink.
For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or GBNews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said, "Stump, you made my argument for me."
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. It is 5 o'clock. This is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio for the next hour. Me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. Coming up, I'll be joined by a special guest who's undergone hundreds of cosmetic procedures to change her gender and now releasing a comic book about life in this gender. So, do you know who she is? Then, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour? And, of course, tonight, it's big time. Can the Three Lions end the 58 years of hurt? Our reporter Jack Carson is in Berlin, taking in the atmosphere.
Well, of course, it is hours before now the England final with Spain. Of course, the anticipation is building here in Berlin, but can England make history in Germany?
Can they just? Now, let's get your latest news, though, with Sam Francis.
Nana, thank you very much and good evening to you. It's just turned 5 o'clock and first to the latest developments from the US, where Melania Trump says her life was on the brink of devastating change due to the suspected assassination attempt on her husband Donald Trump last night. The former US president has said a bullet pierced his ear after a gunman fired at him from a rooftop during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. One spectator was killed and 2 others are still critically injured. This was as the moment the gunfire rang out and Secret Service agents swarmed the former president.
If you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened.
And we are waiting to hear from officials in Pennsylvania, expected to be holding a briefing in the next few minutes. We will bring that to you live as we get it. In the meantime, the FBI has confirmed the alleged gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot at the scene. We now know he was a registered Republican who had also donated to a Democrat-supporting organisation, though his motive for the attack remains unclear at this stage. One spectator, as I said, was killed, 2 others still in a critical condition. And President Joe Biden has now condemned the attack against his political opponent.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it.
Here, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is among world leaders who have condemned last night's attack. He says he's appalled at the news. In the US, Vice President Kamala Harris says she's relieved that Trump is not seriously injured, while billionaire Elon Musk says he'll continue to fully endorse the former president and hopes for his rapid recovery. Meanwhile, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage says Trump's assassination attempt is another example of what he is describing as liberal intolerance.
New left liberal elite have this sort of form of intellectual superiority where they believe they're better human beings than those on the centre right. And that is what's run through media, education, and that is at the heart of this problem, liberal intolerance. And I did say to him, if I hadn't been elected to Parliament, I'd be with him this weekend. So I would have been at that rally if I decided not to stand for Parliament. But I've now decided, Tom, in the light of what's happened, that I will fly out to America this week. I will go and see my friend, and I'll do it. I'll listen to his acceptance speech at the convention on Thursday, and I'll do it not just as a friend, but I'll do it because we have to stand up for democracy. We have to stand up for people to be able to campaign. If we don't, we're absolutely sunk.
Nigel Farage there addressing his concerns following Trump's assassination attempt. Well, in other news, the Foreign Secretary David Lammy is calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza on his first trip to the Middle East since being in the role. His call for a pause in fighting comes as Israel is reporting the Hamas commander in Khan Yunis has been killed in an airstrike. That attack reportedly hit the southern city, with Gazan officials claiming up to 90 civilians died. It's unclear, though, at this stage whether the Hamas chief and any other senior leaders were killed in the attacks. This afternoon, the mother of missing teenager Jay Slater has issued a statement saying she's aware of vile conspiracy theories surrounding her son's disappearance. Debbie Duncan's released that statement as it approaches a month since the 19-year-old went missing on the island of Tenerife. He was last heard from on the 17th of June, telling a friend he'd missed a bus and had cut his leg on a cactus. And a first major men's football title, almost 6 decades, is within England's grasp in tonight's Euro 2024 final. Standing in their way, though, a Spain side who've won every game they've played in the tournament so far. These are the live shots above the stadium in Berlin. Beautiful scenes there, slightly cloudy, but hopefully the weather will hold as fans are soon to be arriving, not wanting to miss out on what could be a historic moment for the England team. Ahead of the big game, Sir Keir Starmer has praised England's footballers, saying they've made the country proud. In a letter to Gareth Southgate and the team, the Prime Minister emphasised their graft, their hard work, and wished them the very best. Gareth Southgate and his players, as I say, they're hoping to win England's first trophy since 1966.
I'm not a believer in fairy tales, but I am a believer in dreams. And we've had big dreams. We've felt the need and the importance of that. But then, you have to make those things happen.
And finally, the latest from Wimbledon. The Princess of Wales has now presented the men's trophy to Carlos Alcaraz, who at just 21 has successfully defended his title. After a very one-sided performance over Novak Djokovic in the final, the Spaniard won in straight sets on centre court to clinch his 4th Grand Slam win. Today's visit to centre court with her daughter, Princess Charlotte, is Princess Catherine's second public appearance following her cancer diagnosis. That's after she made a brief return to the public spotlight last month at Trooping the Colour. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sam Francis. More for you in the next half hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon. It's just coming up to 8 minutes after 5 o'clock. This is GB News when live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it is yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me today, it's journalist and broadcaster Danny Kelly, also author and broadcaster Christine Hamilton. Still to come, each Sunday at 5, I'm joined by a celebrity, a former MP, or someone who's had an extremely interesting career to take a look at life after the job. We talk highs, lows and lessons learned and what comes next on The Outside today. My guest is someone who spent over £1 million on plastic surgery and used to be known as the human Ken doll. She now has a comic book about her life. I'll reveal in just a few moments' time. Even though they've showed you in the picture, it's difficult. But who is she? You can still get in touch. For the Great British debate this out, I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour? And this comes after Labour have approved 3 massive solar farms in the east of England, and as well as Climate Change Secretary Ed Miliband is said to be weighing up blocking new licences for oil drilling in the North Sea. Then, for the Great British debate this hour, I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour? As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments. This at gbnews.com/your say. Oh, there's no sting. Right, so let's carry on. Every Sunday at 5, I'm joined by a celebrity, a former MP, or somebody who's had an extremely interesting career to take a look at life after the job. We talk highs, lows, lessons learned, and what comes next on The Outside. And this week, my guest is a Brazilian television personality who was formerly known as the human Ken doll. Born in São Paulo, she moved to London at the age of 18 and has been making headlines ever since, spending over £1 million, undergoing over 100 cosmetic procedures to change not her appearance, but also her gender. And now she's released a comic book about her life and her transition. I'm sure you've guessed it. You saw her in the picture. Of course it is. It's Jessica Alves. Jessica, thank you for coming in.
It's lovely to see you. Thanks for having me.
And you too. Now, the last time we spoke, we always talk about the topic of gender and your transition. So talk to me about now, though. What you have done is you've created a comic book about your life and about your transition to tell us things that perhaps the press and media don't talk about.
Yes, so throughout the years, I have always been persuaded to write a book, but I was never ready to disclose so much. And I've been working this beautiful comic book. I brought you a little copy. It's here. You can have a look into it later, where I'm detailing past experiences, growing up in Brazil and then moving to this country, and my struggles, the struggles that I had to go through to become the woman that I'm today, beyond the aesthetics and the glamorous life that people see on social media and portrayed by television. So to be the woman that I am today, I tell you, I've been through a lot of pain, not only physically but mentally. I've been through a lot of bullying growing up because I wasn't a boy and I wasn't a girl either. So what I was, who was I? And I'm detailing everything now in this beautiful comic book. I have teamed up with Twisted Doc and Neil Gibson, and it's a beautiful story that I'm telling in this comic book. And I hope, Nana, that I'll be able to inspire people out there that are going through the same issues that I did growing up as a child, and also parents that have trans kids and they do not know how to deal with that.
So what are your thoughts? And of course, we have a Labour government now. We have Sir Keir Starmer and others confusing who should be in what toilet. There was an interesting piece with Nick Ferrari when he asked, I think it was Bridget Phillipson, I think it was, which toilet somebody should use. I mean, to me, that's sort of trivial because we share all the toilets here in GB News anyway. Yeah. But I understand in other spaces, public spaces, with male and female, for you, which toilet would you go in then? And what are your thoughts on the view of it? Well, that's a big question, so I thought I might as well...
Imagine me, Jessica Alves, going inside a male's toilet to do my makeup and lipstick. What kind of questions would I get? I think that a lot of men would be very happy to see me walking inside their toilets. Obviously not. I'm a woman. I'm not a biological woman, but I am a woman. I just cannot have babies because I don't have the female organs. But I'm a woman inside out, therefore I use the female toilet. But what has been going on around, there are a lot of people, they regard themselves as being transgender when they're actually not. They don't have any psychological help, they don't have any medical help. They just wear female clothes and makeup and they call themselves female. And they're the ones using female spaces and take advantage of that. And that is what should stop and be controlled.
But that's the problem, isn't it? So what do you do to stop that? I mean, the suggestion was a third extra space. How would you feel about a third extra space where, this is where if somebody is trans or any of those other things can use rather than using the female toilet?
I don't think that would work, actually, because these people that those people that regard themselves as being females in their minds, they still would use the female toilets.
Because it's to protect women, not
women.
from people who are genuinely trans and who, have come to terms with it, and but it's to protect women from people who are going to play the system.
No, exactly, and those people, they just take advantage from the system, I think. And I think that we have bigger problems. We have bigger problems in this country to be concerned about. The NHS, it's a huge one that should be looking into, I think.
In what way?
These people that call themselves transgender, when they're actually not, they need medical help. The medical service in this country, they don't take care of those people mentally, physically. These people, they need therapy, they need hormonal treatment, and also they need the surgery in order so their mind and body is aligned to what they think, who they actually are.
I mean, listen, I think most people really, in a sense, couldn't give two hoots if somebody's an adult deciding to go through all the surgery and things like that. It's up to, as an adult, you're free, it's your body, you do what you like.
It's a very personal decision.
It's more the children that people are concerned about when people are very young, that they could potentially be manipulated or uncertain and then go through a path that they really would rather an adult had said, look, don't do that just yet, give yourself time.
No, absolutely, yes. So I think that, first of all, the NHS should take care of these people first, before most, rather than changing toilets around this country and having a third gender toilet. Because personally, I don't think that that's going to work, really.
Well, I see what you mean, that people who believe that they are that and that they're not will still use that.
There'll be arguments in front of toilet. They're going to need to have security guards because if they're going to be fighting for their rights. No, I'm a woman, they're going to use that. So what are they going to do, lift up their skirts? Because I have a vagina, I don't have a penis. So I'm not going to use a male toilet.
Yeah, I hear that, but
that's me. But there are a lot of people like myself, they call themselves transgender, who is still don't have any surgery and they still act like a man. They just wear female clothes and they believe that they are a woman. And those are the ones causing threats to women at female space. I would feel very threatened personally going to a male's toilet. Personally, I don't like these gender-neutral toilets because I don't feel comfortable. Even at places sometimes that I go to, I'm doing my lipstick, I see a man walking in, I just leave right away because I'm a woman and I feel very, very uncomfortable.
Well, I think that is the problem, though, that you pointed out very clearly, that it is not because of people who are genuine in it, it is because of people who take advantage of it. And the problem with that is that you cannot differentiate. It's like you said, you can't lift up somebody's skirt and say, well, hang on, let's check.
Absolutely. What are you going to need, like security guards at the door to check that? Like moral police?
Well, that is the problem, which is why there should be, I believe, a third space, so that people who are in between or not sure where they are with it can use that space in terms of protecting both male and female.
To be honest, if they're actually not sure what they are, they need medical help. This is exactly what I did. It wasn't easy. I had the support of my family. I had amazing doctors. It was a very difficult journey that I'm detailing now in this comic book. I understand this is my story. It doesn't apply to everybody, and we all have different stories and different backgrounds. And I understand actually the struggle that a lot of people that call themselves transgender, either male or female, goes through. And it's tough. It really is. And it is. What year are we now? 2024 and all, and but it is an issue that goes around globally. Like, I live in England. I have been here in this country for more than half of my life, but often I'm in America. I'll go back to America this week, and they also have similar issues that we have here. So it is an issue that it's going around globally. Like, there is a better country to be a transgender. Every single country, they will have some kind of issue. Some countries are worse than others, as we know, but I just hope that one day we can all live in peace, that everybody can just be happy.
So your twisted, dark inspiration, this comic book, what's in there that we would sort of be surprised to see? Obviously, don't give us all the detail, but give us something that's unique to you that is in there that we would, that hasn't been said before.
Yeah, because when people go through my social media, it's all about glamorous pictures. I am a woman, then I love being a woman, then I'm so blessed, really. Then I celebrate femininity every day. So But then people just see the surface. People just see that woman looking a certain way, celebrate her femininity. But at this comic book, I'm telling about my childhood growing up in Brazil. I had a very strict father. My father died 3 years ago.
Oh,
and but he was a very strict father to me. So when I was being bullied at school and I would arrive at home covered in bruises, Dad would ask what actually happened. And then I said, well, basically the boys at school, they were punching me and placed my face against the urinal, pushed me down the stairs because they said that I wasn't a boy. And then my dad would punish me for that, saying, I'm going to punish you so you can learn how to be a boy. So tomorrow you can go back to school and beat those boys up. That's absolutely wrong. But also, that's very old-fashioned. That's back in Brazil in the 80s. And before my dad died, obviously we had conversations about it. And in tears, he cried. And I love you, Dad. I really do. And I have forgiven you. I never held any grudge against my dad. At least I was very much loved by my family. I had a very good education. I was sent to one of the best schools.
They accepted your transition and everything?
Yes. So when I was halfway through my transition when my father saw me. It was very shocking for him. It was really shocking. I could see tears in his eyes, but he was trying his best to accept it. But no, my grandma, my mom, everybody, my family, I have the best family in the world. They're so loving and supportive. Having said that, we are from a Christian Catholic family. I was sent to a Christian Catholic boarding school. And I think that who I am today, now I'm turning 41. Nowadays, I'm the fruit of my imagination, everything that I have always wanted to be, with the love and support from my family and few close friends that I have.
That's nice.
And I think that if we have that basis in our life, we can be anything, we can be superheroes. Now, it's just let's try and make this world a better place to live in peace and respect and love one another and be more empathetic as well. Now, there's so much bullying still going on at schools and daily basis on social media. Now, I'm a victim of social media bullying.
Oh, we all are.
Every day. I don't know if you go through my Instagram sometimes because you're Instagram friends, so I always check your posts.
I'm not very good on Instagram, but listen, they bully everybody anyway. I don't take any notice of it anyway. But listen, Jessica, we're running out of time. What's the comic book called? Where can people get hold of it?
So my comic book is called Inspiration. It is a collaboration with A Twisted Dog and Neil Gibson. There is a link online on my Instagram page and all my social medias, and you can place your order. It's a beautiful, beautiful comic book. You're also going to it's going to be published in 5 different languages also, because I speak 5 languages. I know, I'm not from this world, okay? So I speak, English, Portuguese, Spanish, French, Italian, some German. My German is not very good, but I can speak all these languages fluently. And I have a very large following. They're from around the world. So I hope that I'll be able to please everybody.
Well, Jessica, it's been really good to talk to you. Thank you very much for
Thank
giving
you.
us an update on your journey. That is, of course, TV personality Jessica Alves. And, of course, you can get hold of her book. Check out her Instagram. But right now, if you've just tuned in, just coming up to 22 minutes after 5 o'clock, we're live here on TV, online and on digital radio. We're crossing live to Berlin as the excitement builds for tonight's Euro finals. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour? This is GB News.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
No, it wasn't just us who celebrated the big football match on Saturday. Prince William was in the crowd in Dusseldorf and couldn't help but show his relief when England scored.
And over the weekend, it was also announced that the Prince of Wales is set to star in a new two-part documentary on ITV covering his mission to try and eradicate homelessness.
Well, let's talk about this and much, much more with Angela Levin, royal biographer, who joins us in the studio. I'm glad to hear that this documentary's been made, Angela, because I worried that he made this big announcement about homelessness, and I thought, goodness me, here is somebody who could maybe do something about this. And then it's all seemed to have gone quiet.
He's been very busy with it, actually. He's gone all over the country to see different areas and how they have been, and to try and change people's attitude to homelessness, that they're people who need help and want to get back into a normal life. I think it was 2009, he slept out in the street to see for himself what it was like. And he also helps people who are selling the magazines, the big issue. So I think he was actually just covering the basic about what it was like for him and how he can now help other people. He and Catherine are putting £3 million straight away into that, and it's going to
Where
be...
does that money come from?
Their own foundation, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not taking it from our tax or anybody else's. He wants to do this so badly because of his mother. You know, she took them to see people who were homeless, and even if he can't do everyone, he can help people be kind and understanding.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said, Stum, you made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, 25 after 5 o'clock. This is GB News live on TV, online and on digital radio. Now we can now cross the line to Pennsylvania, where officials are speaking about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump.
Law enforcement will have more to share throughout the day, but I'd like to make a few comments separate from the ongoing investigation. First and foremost, the assassination attempt on the former president, Donald Trump, last night was absolutely unacceptable and tragic. Lori and I are grateful that the former president is safe and, according to him and his team, is fine. It's also important to note that last night, 3 of our fellow Pennsylvanians were shot, 1 fatally and 2 in critical condition. I've just spent time speaking to the families, and I want to offer my prayers and the prayers of all 13 million Pennsylvanians for the 2 individuals who are being treated at this time. We lost a fellow Pennsylvanian last night, Corey Comparator. I just spoke to Corey's wife and Corey's 2 daughters. Corey was a girl dad. Corey was a firefighter. Corey went to church every Sunday. Corey loved his community, and most especially, Corey loved his family. Corey was an avid supporter of the former president and was so excited to be there last night with him in the community. I asked Corey's wife if it would be okay for me to share that we spoke. She said yes. She also asked that I share with all of you that Corey died a hero, that Corey dove on his family to protect them last night at this rally. Corey was the very best of us. May his memory be a blessing. Last night was shocking for this community and for this Commonwealth, and I know for this country. Political disagreements can never, ever be addressed through violence. Disagreements are okay, but we need to use a peaceful political process to settle those differences. This is a moment where all leaders have a responsibility to speak and act with moral clarity, where all leaders need to take down the temperature and rise above the hateful rhetoric that exists and search for a better, brighter future for this nation. It's the work that I try to do every day here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And that's the work that falls to each and every American right now. And so I ask that you join me in prayer for the 2 Pennsylvanians who are in critical condition, that we continue to wish for a full and speedy recovery and pray for the former president, and that the Comperator family remains in our thoughts and prayers. They have some very challenging times ahead of them. They will have an empty seat at the dinner table for the rest of their lives. But we need to make sure that Corey's memory is forever a blessing. And here in Pennsylvania, we will see to it that that is the case. And with that, I'll be happy to try and take a few of your questions.
Governor, a lot of folks are starting to ask the tough question about whether that building that the shooter accessed should have been secured. Should it have been secured? And do the Pennsylvania State Police have any responsibility to have secured it?
I'm not going to get into any questions, answer any questions regarding the ongoing investigation. I trust that the FBI and the Pennsylvania State Police will keep you posted throughout the day and in the days ahead as to their investigation.
Governor, there were some concerning items that the police had found in the suspect's vehicle. Do you have any update on those? And are you confident at this point the threat is over, that he acted alone and that the public is in fact safe?
The investigation is ongoing and law enforcement will update you on the status of their investigation throughout the day. I have not spoken directly to the former president. I have wished him well. I think multiple times last evening through statements Lori and I have. The people of Pennsylvania, I know, were praying for him. And again, according to his team and himself, it seems as though he will be fine, obviously, relatively speaking. And we're glad to see that. Violence is never acceptable. I should also let you know that I did speak to President Biden. He called me last night to make sure that here in the Commonwealth we had all the resources we needed. I assured him that we did. At the time, he had yet to speak to President Trump. I think they connected later in the evening, and he wanted me to know that he was trying to reach out to the former president. I think that that was the honorable and right thing to do, and I'm glad that President Biden did that. We have no unmet needs at this time, and we're working in concert with our federal partners, and I let the president know that.
Governor, have you talked to the families of those 2 who were critically injured, and do you have an update on their condition?
I spoke to the family of one of them, and the other left a detailed message, and I'm not going to get into their status. That'll be shared by the Pennsylvania State Police and or the family later today.
Governor, will you be asking for flags to be flown at half-staff across the state, and also knowing that this is going to be a really contentious, even more so, a battleground state for the rest of until we get to the what would your message?
I just missed the last part of what she said.
No problem. The first was about the flags. The second, knowing that this is going to be even more contentious now in the state of Pennsylvania and that we're divided here, what is your message to people who live here?
I have directed that flags be flown at half-staff in Corey's memory, and our chief of staff is working through that process now. My message to all Pennsylvanians, my message to all Americans is to be firm in your beliefs, to believe what you believe, to advocate for what you believe, and to be engaged in the political and civic process, but to always do so peacefully. To remember that while we may be Democrats or Republicans, above all else, we are Americans. And if you look at the story of this great nation over the last 248 years, a nation that was born right here in Pennsylvania, it's been ordinary Americans at every single step of the way, rising up, demanding more, seeking justice, advocating for change, and doing so peacefully. And those who have advocated for such change peacefully, they have been the ones to bring that about. We have to remember that even in these times where there are real divisions, that we have to address those divisions through engagement in the political and civic process in a peaceful manner. That is incumbent upon all political leaders of all parties, and it is incumbent upon the public. I will tell you that notwithstanding the tragedy that we saw last night here in Butler, the awful tragedy, that every day when I'm around Pennsylvania, I see the very best of Pennsylvanians. People who do have fervent beliefs, people who do have passionate beliefs, but who engage in a peaceful manner, and who love their neighbors, and who engage with people in their communities, even those that they might have differences from. We need to learn from our history in this Commonwealth and in this country, and we need to bring our better angels forward and carry that forward into this political season. I'll take one more. Yes.
Can you expand on the situation of Mr. Concatori's passing? Was he standing behind President Trump? You said he dove in front of his family. Is there any more detail you can provide about
His wife shared with me that he dove on his family to protect them. As for any other information, that'll be shared by law enforcement. Thank you all very much.
OK, so that was, of course, the press conference there with regard to the shooting of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, talking there about some fellow Pennsylvanians who were affected by the incident. Well, stay with me. This is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. Coming up, some good news. The Princess of Wales has appeared in public. We'll bring you all the latest on what she's been doing. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour?
Hello there, this is your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. Summer so far has been dominated by areas of low pressure, and we've got more of them on the way over the next few days. This one out in the Atlantic is gearing itself up to arrive for the start of the new working week, and we've still got one out in the North Sea that has been providing drizzly outbreaks of rain for parts of northern England, and they'll be continuing on and off a little as we head throughout this evening and overnight as well, perhaps pepping up for a time around the Forth area, Edinburgh as well. Generally, Wales, central southern areas of England a touch drier tonight. Some mist and fog patches around underneath those clear spells, and rural temperatures maybe into single figures, but most of our towns and cities will be holding up in double digits as we kick off Monday morning. But the start of the new working week will be quite misty and murky for the far northeast of Scotland, where we will see quite a bit of cloud drifting its way in on that northerly breeze with some drizzle in there for a time. Generally, western areas, the Highlands over towards Argyll and Bute, seeing some hazy sunshine to kick off Monday morning here. Also some sunny spells for Northern Ireland and also into northern England as well, where it is going to feel much better on Monday compared to the cool conditions we've had throughout the weekend underneath all that cloud. But here is that rain, the area of low pressure arriving in the far southwest for the start of Monday. It will be turning heavy with some thundery downpours threading into southwest England and Wales throughout the day, and as a result there is a yellow rain warning in force because we could see some localised disruption and flooding in places, so do take care. We do also need to watch out for the potential for some rain to spread its way into the far southeast of England as well. A reversal of fortunes in temperatures on Monday, actually coolest in the southwest underneath that cloud and rain, but northern England, Northern Ireland, central Scotland faring much better, 21 or 20 degrees Celsius. That rain will continue to spread its way northwards throughout Monday evening and into the overnight period. Again, there will be some heavy pulses, potentially thundery downpours around at times that we do need to watch out for. Tuesday looks like a day of sunshine and showers, with further low pressure centres though arriving as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday. Bye-bye for now.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
37 minutes after 5 o'clock. Welcome. Oh, my goodness, how many more hours for the football match? 2.5. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News live on TV, online and on digital radio. Now, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour? The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, has made the controversial decision to approve 3 massive solar farms in the east of England that have been previously blocked by Tory ministers. MPs and campaigners have accused him of endangering the country's food security by sacrificing large amounts of farmland for the solar projects. There have also been reports that Labour is considering blocking oil and gas drilling in the North Sea. But Ed Miliband has denied this, and his department says the government won't issue new licences to explore new oil gas fields, but also won't revoke existing ones. So for the very British debate this out, I'm asking, is energy safe under Labour? Well, joining me to debate this, climate scientist Paul Burgess and senior meteorologist Jim Dale. The dastardly duo have returned. Paul Burgess, this is not climate change. You're not wearing those because of that, are you? No, obviously not. Paul Burgess, no. Talk to me, Paul. Solar farms, surely this is a good thing. Solar power.
No, it's not. I mean, basically, we're putting the cost of electricity up enormously with all the wind and solar. I mean, Ed Miliband's even trying to promote offshore wind, which is £246 a megawatt they're offering for it. I mean, gas at the moment, £65. Onshore wind 89, offshore wind 102. But the big problem is this: as we increase wind, we're going to be paying more the constraint payments because we have to pay overnight for all of it, even though we don't use it. And so as we raise that a limit on wind, we're going to be paying enormous amounts of constraint payments. And besides which, we're having to spend 60 billion to improve the network on the grid. All these are costs coming on the consumer. And what matters in any economy is cheap energy. And we don't have that.
Jim Dale.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Look, we had a general election about 9 days ago, did we not? And I think there's a big vote in favour, about 6-1 if you split the parties from progressive climate change, green energy supporters to the other side, which are regressive and none of the sort. Paul's side, if you like, and they lost. So this was a democratic vote. The new government's been in 8 days, so the wheels are starting to turn and turn quite quickly. Where we weren't safe is where we were before. Let's make that clear. And in two ways. First of all, the climate itself. We have to mitigate the climate, what's going on globally across the world. We have to take steps, as we have been taking steps. Even the last Tory government did some of that, not enough and not fast enough, but nonetheless, they were involved. Where they lost the vote, by the way, in that, it is well seen that the Tories lost vote, particularly in the blue wall areas, because of their environmental climate change stance.
But Jim, a lot of them, the two parties were almost neck and neck with their policies. I mean, one was just bringing net zero forward a bit. That's all the difference. They still supported the same sort of thing.
Yeah, the Tories were sitting on the fence or even going backwards because they were chasing the one guy. We saw it. They're not the same, and you've already seen the what's going to happen in the Labour manifesto. GB Energy, the transition of the oil and gas jobs over time, and it has to be. You know, I've always said this: evolution, not revolution. I like it to move faster, but it won't do. But nonetheless, this is the direction of travel. And Paul, there's no stopping this now. Mate, it's absolutely clear.
Paul, is there, Paul? Is there any stopping it?
Oh, yes, there is, because it's totally unrealistic. We can't afford to do it. I mean, even this new energy thing they're talking about is not possible. I mean, I've got to see, I'm doing a video now with that recording of the Prime Minister being told it's going to cost hundreds of billions, not just 8.1 billion and so on. So what's going to stop this is the practicality of it all. Now, my answer is not to do with politics. I'm not interested in politics. I'm interested in science. Now, even if Jim was right, let's just assume that Jim was right. What we're doing makes no difference whatsoever to the planet. None at all. And what they're not doing is having a go at the Chinese and Indians and fossil fuels. I mean, in the country at the moment, if you take renewable of solar and wind, it's 4.8% of our total energy. 4.8%.
It's not enough, is it?
And what they're trying to do is stop oil, which is not just for energy, it's for everything from your clothes to the roads.
Okay, so I'm going to give Jim Dale, you've got about 10 seconds to respond to that. Very 10 seconds, we've got to go, sadly.
Just gave you there, absolutely bogus. In this country alone, there are times when renewable energy that we get from the sun or the wind or the waves comes in far, far higher than oil, gas. Coal's virtually zero every day nowadays.
Overall, it's 4.8%.
It's clear. Make this absolutely clear. There's only one direction. We're 9 days into this new government.
Okay. So OK, yeah, well, we know all the backstory about how many days we're in. Can I just ask you then, I'll ask you, Jim Dale, is energy safe under Labour, Jim Dale?
Of course it's safe.
And also, Paul Burgess, is it safe?
It's the worst situation with Miliband in charge we could ever imagine being in.
That's pretty clear. All right, thank you very much. Jim Dale, Senior Meteorologist, and also Paul Burgess, a climate scientist. Thank you so much. Right, well, let's see what my panel make of that. Christine Hamilton and Danny Kelly. Christine.
Well, Jim Dale is Jim Dale, isn't he? I won't rehearse all the facts because we've had them on both sides there. But no, Paul, the final words he said was that Ed Miliband is he didn't phrase it like this, is a complete disaster, which he is because he's an absolute net zero zealot and he cannot see the wood for the trees. Nobody is against solar power per se, but it should not be on agricultural fields. It should be on brownfield sites. It should be on rooftops. Yes, of course, put it on all new buildings, etc., etc. We are currently, where we live down in Wiltshire, we are fighting an enormous, over 2,000 acres plan to put solar panels 4 metres high, not these little ones, huge 4-metre high solar panels on agricultural land that, as we speak, is producing wheat, grazing cattle. It is absolutely crazy.
Well, of course,
we have to prioritise food security. It is not necessary to put solar on all these agricultural areas.
Well, of course, Ed Miliband would argue that he's not a zealot. He's just trying to
save
the environment. Danny Kelly.
It's absurd.
The utility of it all.
Exactly.
I mean, what difference will it make? And that's what I really get frustrated about. I'm not a climate denier. I take everything that scientists tell me and I believe it. And I also think Paul's point was very interesting as well. But it's the futility of it all. What are we doing to ourselves? Thousands of jobs are going with the North Sea thing. Thousands of jobs are on the line. It's just, what difference does it make?
Well,
unless other countries around the world actually get involved, what difference does it make?
I'll tell you the difference it makes. The difference it makes is that all of us and everybody else has to pay vastly more for their energy bills, for their electricity, while China and India roar away using conventional stuff, churning out all these emissions, which we've done more than any other country in the world. I mean, I'm agreeing with you, to reduce emissions. And it is utterly ridiculous for us to bankrupt ourselves, charge people so much for their electricity, while huge countries with mega populations are steaming away, churning out all these... I mean, it's bonkers.
But they would argue that we've had our time with the Industrial Revolution when they weren't doing that.
Well, fine,
that's a rubbish argument, the fact that we produced so much in the Industrial Revolution.
But, Danny, darling, if you accept that argument, and there is a validity to it, it is their turn.
We've got to punish ourselves now.
No. Then that is saying, let them go ahead and do it, but don't punish ourselves.
It's the self-flagellation
We've done our bit.
Get.
No, I know. It's crazy.
The point that makes is that who are you to tell them to do what you have just been doing?
I don't think we should.
That's why they're not listening.
If climate change and man-made climate change and the threat of it is so serious and potentially cataclysmic, I think the next logical step for people like Jim would be to call for some sort of regime change in countries like China, who are doing absolutely nothing about it.
Well, he's not going to do that.
Of course not. But that would be the next political movement to demand regime change if climate change is so potentially damaging.
Right, well, this show's nothing without you and your views. Let's welcome our great British voices, their opportunity to be on the show and tell us what they think about the topics we're discussing. There's three of you. Lee Webb in Bedfordshire. Briefly, what do you think? Is it?
I think it's madness, this net zero stuff. We're doing away, if we stop all of this oil drilling, we're stopping away with a lot of revenue for the government. £8.6 billion is raised each year by the government. That's on average. Well, some years it's more, some years it's less. But just lose all of that revenue is absolutely mental and
Julie
totally
Ford,
against our security.
Julie Ford in Bedfordshire. Sorry to rush you, Lee. Julie Ford.
Is anything safe under any of the governments, I think is the question, Nana. I agree with everything that both of your panels have said, both Jim and Paul and Christine and Danny. I think for us as the size of the UK in the rest of the world, it's not going to really make much impact. No. And it's going to end up with our customers having to pay the bill.
Yeah, I suppose so. And land is a premium and you can't just put solar panels on it. And Brian Dugan, finally to you, is energy safe in Labour?
Yeah, I mean, I think striving towards what they're trying to do by 2030, I think is laudable, and I think that's what we have to strive for, you know, collectively as a human race. But that's difficult because other countries have their own approaches to this, Nana. But I think we have to strive towards it, and you know, the global crisis at the moment, we need clean energy. And that's what we need to be looking for.
Well, we need to, but not in a counterproductive fashion. I'll agree with you on that as well. Brian Dugan, thank you very much. Julie Ford in Bedfordshire and also Lee Webb in Bedfordshire. Next, can England bring football home? It's coming home. We'll see. We'll go live to Berlin.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The Royal Academy's annual exhibition has returned for the 256th time to brighten the summer holidays. It's the world's oldest open submission exhibition. Anyone can enter work to be considered for inclusion. I'm joined now by art critic J.J. Charlesworth for his verdict. What is your verdict?
My verdict is you should go and see it. You are confronted with many things of varying quality, selected by artists, and you very much, instead of being given something to you that's supposed to be good, you have to make your own decision.
I went along yesterday, and I personally did see some pictures on the wall that I thought were absolutely stunning. I'm going to mention Peter Ucker, which I think is a remark. And now these are the two by Ben Jonson, Grundtvig 1, and we've got one coming out of Berlin Pool. I think that's an absolutely stunning piece of work. And then Claire Douglas should be up. Here we are, Claire Douglas.
Yes. Souvenir from the Anthropocene. Yeah. That last one, actually, a very witty painting. A piece like that was really interesting. I think it caught a lot of people's eyes because it had very kind of humorous, slightly bleak take on post-Brexit Britain. It's set in this fictitious world of Brummington, which is a sort of loose satire on Birmingham. I thought it was a bit mean.
I think we had maybe Black Lives Matter. We had Boris Johnson. I think our own Jacob Rees-Mogg made his way into the painting.
Yeah, so there's definitely a slant, a political slant, on the part of the artist. But even that said, I thought it was an interesting and enjoyable work, even though maybe you don't agree with the artist on what they're trying to say. And I think that actually made for an interesting moment because you're seeing that people are disagreeing, right? Both through the artwork and in front of artworks.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christys. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said, Storm, you made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christys tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello! Yeah! Can the Three Lions, well, can they beat 58 years of hurt? England face Spain in Berlin in what is their first ever major final abroad. Enjoying the Euros build-up is our reporter Jack Carson in Berlin, and also, Jack Carson, just you, is it? Jack Carson in Berlin. I've changed into my England outfit. I mean, it's United Kingdom, but hey. So talk to me, what's going on there? What's the atmosphere like?
Well, honestly, the atmosphere has been building all day. We've been with the England fans all day. And honestly, it's just fantastic. You can really feel that anticipation, that excitement in the air with Chris Scudder, of course, once again. And you can see the kind of fans, you know, trying to get into this fan zone. This is going to be one hell of a final
It's been a long day, hasn't it? They've drunk the place dry. I mean, literally from breakfast time to now. And no, we're just outside the Brandenburg Gate area where the fan zone is. And real mix of, we haven't seen many Spanish fans all day, but there's a few of them coming in here now. It's a real mix, I think. So I think we're expecting about 80,000 or so to be watching from the big screens. 30,000 or so England fans at the stadium, which is quite a way from here. but the whole, the carnival atmosphere, I mean, it's just all about a sense of history tonight now.
Well, this is it, and this is, I guess, the pressure that's on Southgate. We know what happened in 2021, losing to Italy on that penalty shootout. These players and him, he has a chance to redeem himself tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's been saying all day that, if we mustn't have any fear. If we lose the fear, then we're able to win. I know it's all part of the psychology that Southgate.
But he's good at that, though, isn't he?
He's very good at that, yeah, and he's made the players feel comfortable in themselves. They're aware of what's at stake here, and let us get it right. England have failed many times in the 58 years since 1966. Tonight is all about delivering a trophy. Failure is not an option, frankly. They've done brilliant to get this far. They haven't played well, but it's about delivering tonight. It's been a long time. All the big nations have done it except England, and Sir Geoff Hurst is the one remaining man from 1966. How he would love to see that ghost finally laid to rest tonight with a trophy.
Well, it certainly would have
there you go. Back to you, Nana.
Thank you so much, Jack Carson. Well, that's Jack Carson. Of course, England are playing tonight. Listen, on today's show, we've been asking, is energy safe under Labour? According to our Twitter poll, only 6% of you said yes, yet 94% of you said no, it absolutely isn't. We also asked you whether the assassination attempt against Trump has changed your opinion of him. And according to our Twitter poll, 86% of you said no, 14% of you said yes. Well, I've got to say a huge thank you to my panel, broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly, and also author and broadcaster Christine Hamilton.
Bye.
And also to you at home for your company. Neil Oliver is next. We'll leave you with this. We'll leave you with the weather. Christine and Danny, come on. Yeah, come on, England.
Come on, England.
Come on. Enjoy that.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Many of us are ending this weekend on a reasonably calm note. We do have some clear spells around, particularly across Wales, central southern areas of England, Northern Ireland and western Scotland, also seeing a dry start to the night. There is a bit of rain and drizzle around though for the northeastern areas, particularly developing and pepping up across the Firth of Forth into Edinburgh way during the second half of the night. Many of us though seeing temperatures hold up around 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. For your early morning rush hour then on Monday, there will be a little bit of cloud around, certainly for the northeast of Scotland, some drizzle underneath all of that, perhaps some misty, murky conditions, particularly around some coastal areas. But generally further towards the west, there will be some quite bright sunshine first thing. Still, though, that drizzle perhaps lingering through the central belt. Northern Ireland getting off to a pretty fine start for this new working week, some sunny spells in there, and also for parts of northern England, it will be much brighter compared to recent days that we have seen, feeling a touch better here. For the far south, though, it is this area of rain that we have our eyes on. This will be turning very heavy very quickly as we head throughout the morning, with some thundery downpours, possible torrential rain. There could certainly be some difficulties on the roads and travelling, so do take care here. And there is a rain warning in force for southwest England and Wales throughout much of Monday. That will steadily push its way northwards, perhaps skirting into eastern areas as well. Feeling a little cool underneath that rain, 18-19 degrees Celsius, but the northern half of the UK faring quite well, around 20-21 degrees Celsius here, just with an ice or shower to watch out for. Into Tuesday, that area of low pressure that's